Hello, 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 and welcome to Secrets of Face Reading for Fun and Profit. I'm Dr. David Snyder, Doctor of Acupuncture and Chinese Medicine. I want to welcome you all to what I hope will be one of the most educational and amazing 3 or 4 hours of your life ever. So before we get started, a couple of things. I just want to get some basic administrative stuff out of the way. So first and foremost, let me just get my standard disclaimer out of the way and we'll go from there. If politically incorrect language, colorful metaphors, swearing, or the word boobies offends you, you might want to find a better place to spend the next 4 hours. However, if you like no BS, hardcore action, actionable material that you can take out into the world and start using right away, then I think you're going to be in store for a really big treat. That being said, couple of things. If this is your first time checking in with us, do a couple of things for me, if you would, please. First and foremost, type your name, where you're checking in from, and first time into your chat. This will be a very, I'm a very interactive instructor, and so the more I can get feedback from you as an audience, the happier I tend to be. There will be times where I'm going to follow a PowerPoint. There'll be times when I'll be getting more organic. And that brings us to the next point. If you're kind of conditioned to a 90-minute webinar where you log on, the guy goes through 20 minutes of why you should buy his stuff, followed by a bunch of teasing cool material and things of that nature, and then more rounds of buy my stuff in various forms, kind of like an infomercial, you're probably going to be a little disappointed. There will be an offer. Hey, John, welcome. There will be an offer connected to this particular class, and it is a class. So please make sure you have things to write with, as well as there will be exercises that we may or may not do, depending on where the class wants to go. So here's how it will work. For the first 60-ish minutes, give or take, I will deliver as much actionable, workable, real world, take it out tonight and start playing with it material as possible. At about the 55-minute mark, the 1 hour, 5-minute mark, something like that, I will present to you a special training package that I've put together to help you take your learning to the next level. And the reason I did this is because if, for example, this is the scope of everything there is to learn with this concept of face reading and physiognomy and how it relates to neuroscience and behavior and personality and temperament, we have time for this much. So my commitment to you is I will take you as far as I can in the time that we have, and I will point you in the direction of where to go to take the next step. Is that a fair trade for me to deliver as much content as humanly possible and then point you in the direction of where to go from more? If you think that's a fair trade, go ahead and type that in the chat for me, just so I can see that we're all okay with that. Cool. Okay. And again, those of you joining us through YouTube, there is about a 30-second delay, 30 to 60 seconds between when something I say on video is launched through Zoom and when it shows up in your platform. However, the chats are in real time. A couple of things for those of you who have questions, and I love questions, by the way. I should probably tell you that right up front. However, and the better the questions, many times, the better the lesson. But the more questions I answer, the more off topic or into little sidebars and rabbit holes we tend to go. And as much as I love rabbit holes and sidebars, I like to I have a format that I follow. So let me just finish explaining that. So for the first 55 to 65 minutes, I will be delivering as much hard-hitting, simple, easy to use, followable content as I can. Things you don't have to believe any of it. Just go out and play with it and see how it works for you. If it works, keep it, come back for more, take the next step, whatever you need to do for you. If it doesn't work, find something that that works for you. I see questions already. If for some reason I do not answer your question during the webinar, which may or may not happen, after a while, the things are going by so quick, I either don't see them, or by the time I think to answer them, something else has caught my attention. If that's the case, what I want you to do is, what I would like you to do is I'd like you to, when this particular version of the webinar goes live on YouTube, go to the comment section. And in the comment section below this webinar, type your question. I always go back and I always read the comments for YouTubers, and I always read the chats for my Zoomers. So I will be reading your questions, I will be reading your comments, and I will answer them if I don't answer them during the webinar. Okay, so for about 60, 65 minutes, we're going to deliver hardcore content. I'm going to teach you about the offer that I put together to help you take your training further. Then the best part is when you stay to the end of the webinar, Best part is I'm going to circle back to the content, and we're going to continue to teach for another hour, hour and a half, however long you guys want to stay on. My job when we do these things is to teach you something cool that you can go out and use to make your world a better place. And then finally, to show you how to take the next step. But the best part about any of the technologies that we share with you, any of the technologies that we teach, you don't got to believe it for it to work. You just got to do it. That's kind of what sets us apart, and all the people in Planet David apart from most of what you'll encounter. You don't got to believe it for it to work. Now, I asked the people who are brand new to type in new first timer in the chat. Now, those of you who've been bebopping around Planet David, who've been watching our videos on YouTube or Facebook or wherever it is, just type in your name, veteran, in the chat, and so people can know. And the reason I'm asking is going back to that whole idea about questions. Many times as I'm teaching, I have a structure I have to follow, I have commitments I have to keep, and because of that, I don't always get to the questions. But there are tons of people in the chat right now who have been using these technologies, who've been playing with them out in the field, anywhere from a week to 10, 12 years. Those of you who are veterans in Planet David, if you see a question that I did not answer, that you have direct experience with using our technologies, please answer those people, right? You have my permission to do that, right? As long as it doesn't distract from the flow of the webinar and things of that nature. So by all means, again, you expect me to have an agenda. You expect me to, say, buy my stuff is the best. It'll change your life. Well, of course it will, but don't trust me, right? Believe the other people in the chat, ask questions. We do have somebody playing whack-a-troll. So if somebody decides to misbehave, there won't even be a warning. They'll just ban you. So we don't normally have a big problem with that, but every now and then we get a few. So, hey, Bobby, welcome aboard. So that being said, here's, I'm about to start the David Dog and Pony Show. So once again, if politically incorrect language, colorful metaphors, swearing, or the word boobies offends you, probably time to bail because stuff's about to get real. If this is the scope of everything there is to teach, we have time for this. I'll take you as far as I can in the short time that we have. I'll point you in the direction of where to go next. With that, I'm going to teach for as much as I can for about the first hour or so. I'm going to present our offer. Once that's done, I'm going to circle back. I'm going to continue to teach. So are you guys ready for the David Dog and Pony Show? Type yes, I'm ready. If in the chat, if you're ready, welcome, Chris. There's Verdell. Cool. Kevin says, let's go. All right, nice. Welcome, guy. I know there's names flying by really fast here. All right, without further ado, I present to you, look, I made a funny there. How to instantly read people's personalities in just minutes. If you stay with me on the webinar today, I'm Dr. David Snyder. I'm going to show you in very concrete, verifiable ways how to understand how people think, feel, and behave just by looking at their face. I'm going to teach you how to find, spot, and uncover where they've marked hidden traumas that you can actually go in and help people to release. I'm going to teach you how to read people's repressed emotions. Very, very powerful. And once you have all those things, you'll know in a very, very succinct way how to profile them, which gives you the ability to actually know how to influence and persuade them. And then if we have time, and I cover this in pieces throughout the webinar, but we'll teach you how to measure sexual and romantic compatibility. This kind of goes back to what we call Chinese 5-element theory and what we call the law of identification. But anyway, so that's what we've got planned for you today. So many times when I begin this this journey into things, people often ask me, okay, well, who is Dr. David Snyder and why should I care? Well, first and foremost, I am an actual doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine. I graduated from Pacific College of Oriental Medicine. I've been a licensed acupuncturist since 2005, 2006, when I moved to San Diego, California to share a practice with my now wife, Dr. Dawn Liu. And my specialty clinically has been treating physiological illness that has as its roots repressed emotions. So while most hypnotherapists, most NLP practitioners, they deal with a lot of weight loss, a lot of public speaking and fears, which we do deal with, smoke cessation, things of that nature. We tended to get, right off the bat, I was working almost exclusively off medical referrals. So I tended to get more chronic pain, physiological illness due to repressed emotion, which was pretty much cancer, Parkinson's disease, multiple sclerosis. Most forms of chronic illness can be traced back to some kind of memory-based incident that is lodged in the system. And the Chinese medical model, acknowledges that from 2,500 years ago, if not longer. Modern science is now coming to this conclusion as well. And so you've got this merging of two different paradigms proving the same thing, that most of the stuff that makes us sick, most of the stuff that holds us back, most of the stuff that marks us physically is emotional memory locked in the body that has not been fully processed. And that was what leads to many forms of physical and emotional illnesses. And so that's what I've been focusing on and specializing in clinically, in terms of my clinical applications, my clinical work, since about 2006. However, I'm a specialist in strategic human influence technologies. And for those of you who may not be familiar with my work, in 2020, I was named the #1 NLP trainer of the year by globalgurus.org. I am a certified NLP trainer and master hypnotist. I've authored over 15 different programs on various forms of human influence, everything from how to cure traumas and release traumas to advanced influence, persuasion, marketing, sales, attraction, and dating and relating. I've created innumerable courses from the most fundamental to the vibrational, and we can talk about those, ad nauseum. But again, we are quite prolific in terms of the content we produce. So here you see a copy of our Global Gurus naming. And then, of course, this was kind of a surprise for us. I don't know if you guys can see that because I have my PowerPoint really small here. But this says, "Dear Dr. David, it is with great pleasure to announce that your training program, Killer Influence, has been chosen by global peers and ranked as the #1 best program in the world for neurolinguistic programming." You can see that here. And again, here is a copy of the Global Gurus page. Now, this is from last year, so new rankings have come out that we haven't published yet, and we'll be doing that shortly. But I just wanted to share that with you really quickly. I also have a very extensive background in the martial arts. Grandmaster, 10th degree black belt in Ryukyu Kempo Karate, 4th degree black belt Shaolin Kung Tao, 2nd degree black belt Kosho Kempo Ryu, 1st degree black belt Fankuru Jiu Jitsu, certified instructor in combat systema, which, by the way, if you're going to work in the neuro influence field, I have not found a better art than Russian Systema because they have more ways of messing with people's neurologies than any system I've ever come across, including Tai Chi. So just my biased opinion. But I'm also a certified instructor in Cinco Mano Eskrima, as well as Modern East basic instructor. I have a lot of background in energetics. This class won't particularly touch a lot on the energetic side of my life or how it applies. It's more on the go out and do this and watch how people respond to you kind of a thing. I'm a Reiki master teacher. I've been a Reiki master since before Reiki was even cool. I've also been studying Kabbalah since about the same time, before Madonna even heard of Kabbalah. So I'm very much a prima donna. I'm an advanced pranic healer and certified advanced pranic psychotherapist. I'm an advanced DNA theta healer and manifestation practitioner. I'm certified in the Bankston energy healing system, and I practice a variety and teach a variety of various Qigong systems. So as you look at all this, this laundry list of stuff, you may be asking the question, what does all this have, what do all these things have in common? What does all this have to do with face reading? Well, 2 words: pattern recognition and everything. And the reason I say this is because when we start to unpack human beings, what we see is an interlocking connection, loops of patterns and structure. Everything human beings do follows a pattern. Everything human beings think and say and behave has a structure to it. And those structures leave clues. And when you understand how to look at the structures and the processes that are inherent in people, the mystery behind most people begins to kind of unlock itself, and you begin to be able to look at people, know who they are, where they're coming from. Even if you don't know the specifics of it, you know the general patterns of the life they've led. It's literally written all over their face. And because you can do that, you can create a profile in your mind and extrapolate and predict how they might think or behave given certain stimuli, certain types of situations. So the bottom line is, what does all these things have to do with face reading? Everything that we do is going to go back to how the human nervous system processes thoughts, feelings, and emotions. Okay. Let me go back to my screen really quickly. Where did it go? Here we go. Sorry. So is this class for you? Well, if you can answer yes to any of the following questions, then this is probably a good place for you to be. So type yes in the chat if any of these things apply to you. Would you like to be more attractive to the opposite sex and make them find you charming, fascinating, and or irresistible? Would you like to figure out how to banish fear and insecurity from your life? Maybe even learn how to radiate more confidence and charisma. Let me tell you something. When you can look at somebody's face and know the secret emotions under the surface, it gives you a lot more security when dealing with them, because A, you realize that most people are more nervous about stuff than you are. Right? They're very self-absorbed. If you'd like to make more money from your job, book more clients for your business, get that raise or promotion you know you deserve, you're going to get some powerful master keys in today's class. If you'd like to protect yourself from manipulators and easily handle difficult people, if you'd like to be able to spot difficult people before they even open their mouth, this is probably a good place for you to be. Right? If you like to program yourself and clear your blocks to success and create massive financial abundance and generate more and more money, this is a good place for you to be, because we'll show you on the face some of the places that indicate people who have a tendency to be good earners, so to speak. If you'd like to learn how to inspire and motivate your employees and work with them more directly, this is a really good place for you to be. You know, if you'd like to nail job interviews left and right, because you can present information to people in the exact way that they need it to be presented to them, so that they can process it in the way that puts you psychologically in the best position in their mind, this is a really good place for you to be tonight. If you'd like to attract and surround yourself with lots of trustworthy and loyal friends, you know, the kind that don't want you for something you can do for them, this is probably a really good place to be. If, for example, you'd like to easily have, if you've ever fantasized about the idea of being able to put somebody under your spell just by talking to them, even if you have zero knowledge of hypnosis, I'm going to let you in on a secret right here, right now. When you start demonstrating the ability to read people's faces and you start telling people about themselves, things that nobody, not even their best friends know, they will go into a profound hypnotic state. They will become very fascinated with you. They'll become very suggestible to you, and they will tend to follow your lead because you'll get more authority in their world and in their mind. And that's a really powerful place to be. So as you go through the techniques and the various areas in this particular webinar, and you go out into the world and you play with them, please be respectful of the power that you're wielding in the minds of the people you do this with. Always try to deliver these reading components in a very compassionate, positive way. Put a positive, pardon me, my nose is itching a little bit. Chase, my friend Chase Hughes would say, that means I must be lying, right? But try to put a compassionate spin on whatever traits you unpack. Because when you start unpacking the facial features of a person's face, they become very sensitive and very vulnerable, right? Some may just deny stuff right off the bat, but you'll know right away by the look in their eyes, by their pupil dilation, things of that nature, that you kind of hit pay dirt with those things. So again, I'm going to show you really powerful, actionable stuff that you can take out into the world. You don't got to believe it. You just got to do it. But when you do it, please do it with compassion, okay? For whatever reason, the traditional Chinese approaches to face reading always tended to be a little bit more on the pessimistic or negative side. There have been in the past few years some really good teachers coming out now who are saying, well, it's that's true, but there's another side to it as well that we need to emphasize as well. So again, I'm one of those heart-centered people. And so I want you to just be very, very kind and compassionate when you use these techniques. Is that a fair ask? Just if you think that's fair, go ahead and type that in the chat for me. Cool. Excellent. All right, very good. All right, so let me go back to my PowerPoint here and see what's, oops, I almost ended the meeting on us. That wasn't exactly where I wanted to go. Let's see here. So anybody type a lot of yeses? Okay, so here's my promise to you guys. If you stay until the end of this webinar, hold on a second, I'm having all kinds of PowerPoint issues. If you stay until the end of this webinar, I promise I will teach you the most powerful way to read and understand yourself and anyone you meet. I'll teach you how to understand people's personality and temperament, how to elicit and track their trauma history, how to judge sexual and romantic compatibility, read personality and temperament, and finally, how to become a master of people reading and human influence. That's our goal here. Nobody who's on my channel is here because they're happy with the way their life is going. They want to level up. They want to have more influence. They want to take the randomness out, either through learning how to read and understand themselves and other people better, or by gaining the tools to influence their own mind and body and ultimately other people to get the things they want in life. And you know what? That's okay. That's all right. It doesn't make you a bad person because you want to be more empowered, because you want to have more tools and an ability to have more choice in the world. It will tend to put people who have a fear of power on edge, though. So be careful who you share these things with. And if you know these things, don't just go around advertising it. Use them for the betterment of everybody, but don't just be very, very mindful with who you share these things with. Okay, I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm just saying when people know certain things, they frame you a certain way, and it's not. And if you're not controlling that narrative, you might have a little bit of an issue. Okay, so let's move on. So here's what I'd like you to do. This is where we enter what I call the free form webinar. This is where I'm asking you in a very direct way, if everything were on the table regarding face reading and how to read people's personality and temperaments, if there was one or two things that you could take away from this webinar, that every time you whipped it out and you used it and you say, that is what I came for, David gave it to me, I am so glad I invested the time. What would that thing be? What is the thing you want most to be able to do? And what's the answer? What's the biggest question that you have regarding face reading? Let's keep it on topic, okay? Face reading and how to predict personality and temperament. Go ahead and take a moment, type that in the chat for me, okay? Because now, based on what you're telling me, I'm going to start to modify the webinar. Okay, so I want everything from today's agenda, okay? Okay, how to stop a psychopath. I don't get out of the room. I know that sounds trite, but psychopaths are very skilled at spotting hot buttons. Boost self-confidence, okay. What else we got? Can I touch on identifying? I can tell, yeah. In fact, what I'll do is I'll save that for, again, what I'll do is I have a set program that I'm going to teach for the first 45 minutes or so. And then we'll do our offer, we'll circle back, and I'll touch on your specific questions. Reading teenagers' minds. Okay, I don't know that you can read a teenager's mind because they're written in crayon, but how to tell what someone thinks of you, someone being lied to. Okay, oh, okay. I see where this is going. Ron Paul or Die says, let's see here. Ideal facial expressions intentionally work like, I think you're asking if there's a crossover between, there is actually a crossover between graphotherapy and graphoanalysis and face reading. I found it by accident. What is my interviewer really thinking? Okay, become the psychopath. Oh, that's kind of scary. Redirection and notice when, so you can run away. All right, so it seems to me like you guys are kind of interested in bad guy stuff. Would that be true? Okay, okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about. Before we get into that deeper level stuff. Before we get into that deeper level stuff, there's three possible areas we can start. We have to go through the foundations. Would that be okay? Before we get into that, how to make someone loyal to you? How to identify a cop? Okay. Okay. All right. Help with bad guy stuff. Okay. So here's three ways we can start. We can start with emotions, unpacking emotions on the face. We can start with thinking strategy. In other words, how do people make decisions? We can talk about social masks. In other words, the public masks they have versus the private masks. Where would you like to start of those three? What would you like to start with? Emotions? Go ahead and type in the chat what you'd like. Emotions. Number 2 is thinking strategies. Emotions. 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 Decisions. Okay. We're going to cover them all. I just want to know what your preferred thinking strategies. Okay. Emotions, of course. All right. Okay. So let's go ahead. We'll move through the emotions as quickly as we can. I don't know if we'll be able to get through all the emotions before it's time to present our offer, but here's what we'll do. I will teach as much of the emotional map as I can. And then we'll do our offer. I'll give you a chance to, level up, so to speak, and then we'll circle back. We'll finish the emotional map, and then we'll jump into decisions for sure. And then we'll look about, I'll have to pull up some of my other files because I didn't have my Shen materials ready, but we can show you some of the things. Interesting, you know what? The universe was telling me this is where you guys were going because I actually found a slide while I was going through my pictures today on Shen disturbances and lying. So I actually know where that particular slide is. So, and we'll go into that after the first half of our webinar. Does that sound like a plan? be a better service to hypno clients. Oh, Valerie, this is going to be a huge bump to everything you do therapeutically. Very, very powerful stuff. In fact, it'll help you unlock things they don't even know is a problem. Are you guys ready? Yeah. Okay, very cool. All right, so let's go with, let me go back and start sharing my screen. And we're going to go into not social mass. We're going to talk about emotions and the face. Now, here's the thing we need to understand about emotions. First and foremost, human beings are holographic information processing systems. We are what is commonly referred to as an open-ended information energy transfer system. In other words, we are constantly taking in information and energy from our environment, processing it, and sending energy out into the environment. The Chinese mapped out very, very adeptly thousands of years ago where certain types of emotional frequencies locked in the body emerge holographically on the face. And this is such a comprehensive model of healing. I call face reading, by the way, for those of you who are hypnotists, coaches, therapists, what have you, I call face reading Chinese vibrational psychotherapy, because literally, if you know how to do face reading in the classical way, which I'm fully trained in, and you start to unpack the markings on people's faces, as they move, that you will start a catalyzation in them. They will start to process out those emotions. And as they process out those emotions, when they're completely gone, you'll see the face start to change. We've literally taken before and after pictures of people before face reading and afterwards, and the people's faces are radically different from a 90-minute face reading, okay? And I was the first to call bullshit, in spite of my background in Chinese medicine, when I first heard this from my teacher, Lillian Bridges, who's the world's leading authority on face reading and Chinese medicine. In fact, that's the textbook for my courses is Face Reading and Chinese Medicine by my teacher, Lillian Bridges. Jamiqua says non-verbally. You're going to have to elaborate on that, Jamiqua, because I'm not sure what you mean when you say non-verbally. But basically, what we can do is we can look at the face, and let me show you really quickly what I'm talking about. There is so much information on your face. Okay, so what you're seeing here is what we call the emotional map of the face. Can you all see that? Can you all see the map? We're going to teach you about that, and I'll show you ways to do that. So this is the emotional map of the face. Now, this was not what I was taught when I went to acupuncture school. I learned this in advanced training. When an acupuncturist looks at your face, and they're trained in facial diagnosis, which is an actual part of Chinese medical diagnosis, this is actually what they see. Okay, so literally every energy system in the body, from an organ system in the body, has corresponding locations on the face. And based on the texture, the coloration, the outlines, the shapes, even the odors of what we see on this map, we can diagnose what's going on with a person's heart, liver, kidney, spleen. We can diagnose if they're having bad dreams, a lot of dreams, whether they're sleeping well or not. A lot of things we can do here. But this is not where we're going. But I wanted you to understand that this is where I started. So I can look at your face and I can tell you if your thyroid's bad or going bad. I can tell you if you're having blood sugar issues. I can tell you if you're having, hard time sleeping. A lot of cool things that I can do with this. But this is where I started. This is where we're going. Okay. And we're going to start once again, going clockwise. So 12 o'clock position here. We're going to start with a line that starts, I'll use green for this. Right here, this is called the skepticism line. So when you see people with this line, the way you want to describe the trait is, John says, can we fix our sleep problems with this? You can diagnose potential sleep problems with this. And then if you have the tools, you can unpack what those markings indicate, and your sleep should improve. Now, sometimes that'll be herbs, sometimes that'll be acupuncture, sometimes that'll be hypnotherapy or vibrational hypnotherapy like we do. Again, there's different ways to address it, okay? Okay, so let me go back to this. So skepticism. So how do we, when we see somebody with this marking, the marking starts, is it on both eyebrows or just, it's on both. Many, for the sake of mapping this out, most of the traits, with the exception of the ones directly on the center line, are symmetrical. So these can be on either side of the face, okay? So the first line we're going to talk with is at the 1 o'clock position. This is known as a skepticism line. Now, when you see this line, it usually starts about halfway from the brow line and it kind of travels towards the outer edge of the eyebrow. When you see this line, this is somebody who tends to take everything with a grain of salt. They don't take everything at face value. So you see this a lot on lawyers, investigators, some good therapists have it. A lot of people who've dealt with a lot of con men and have grown up in places where people are trying to sell you oceanfront property in Arizona, kinds of thing. You'll see this a lot coming. I see this a lot in lawyers. I also see this a lot in marketers and media people. Okay, so for traveling clockwise from the skepticism line, right at the outer canthus, this outside corner of the eyebrow is known as the outer canthus. You have a line that travels from the outer canthus and it journeys up. This is a joy line. So when you have these little crow's feet that kind of travel up the side here, that's someone who has a lot of happiness. These are good lines to have, okay? When the lines travel from the outer canthus and they descend downward, you see what we call sadness. Now, sadness can be transient, it can be in the moment, but when you see lines that are there, even when the person isn't showing an obvious emotion, this is kind of what we're looking at when we start to think about, let me see if I can make my picture a little bigger here so when one of the things we want to look at is when someone's having an obvious emotion, these lines just pop out. But if the lines are there, even when their face is relatively neutral, what you're seeing is someone who's spent a lot of time experiencing those emotions and probably hasn't fully processed them out. So be very careful when you start to unpack that emotion, because when you start to ask them about this line, and that's how you do it, by the way, you don't say, oh, you've had a lot of sadness in your life. Bad idea, right? You want to get a little bit more Ericksonian, a little bit more permissive. And you might say something like, well, I'm noticing that you got beautiful eyes. First of all, always compliment a feature before you start to unpack it. It's just a good idea. I call it the shit sandwich, okay? You tell them something positive, you give them the stuff that's maybe not so positive, and then you reframe that so that they have a positive experience from it. They take a positive lesson. And it's usually that reframe, by the way, that transforms people. And you'll see the lines start to actually fade or change. MST is asking about resting bitch face, RBF. Yeah, you'll see that. Okay, but so again, so if the line from the outer canthus is going up, you have someone who's got a lot of joy. Now, real quick, I'm going to jump over to the opposite side of the chart over here, just because it's relevant. Here you see a set of lines that start also at the outer canthus, but they travel up past the eyebrow. When you see a set of wrinkles go up and travel to the border of the eyebrow or even further, you're seeing now what the Chinese would label as excessive or pathological joy. The actual term in our Western approach is mania. So you're looking at people who have, bipolar disorder. They're just manic. They have a little bit of megalomania going on. They're up at 3 o'clock in the morning tweeting until their Twitter account gets banned, things of that nature. Again, not passing judgment, but these behaviors are quite obvious. Now, what's interesting about people who go through these manic episodes is they can be extremely productive, but when they crash hard. It's bad for their heart. So when you see people with these kind of lines, be aware that there's some excessive energy in the system that's playing havoc with them. Okay, at Kevin, okay, so Seth is answering that question. Okay. Questions on skepticism, joy, sadness, and mania, real quick. Hold on a second. Let me just make sure I'm not missing anything. So again, skepticism, always describe the trait, not the label. So you might say to somebody who's skeptical, you're the kind of person that doesn't just believe what people say just because they say it. You take everything with a grain of salt. You're not the first to buy into something. You're not always going to call bullshit, but you're going to kind of wait and see and see if they can actually prove what they say. Right. So again, you're always going to be better off describing the behavior than just blurting out the trait. Joy, of course, you've shown the line rising up here. You have beautiful eyes, by the way. This line shows that you've had a lot of joyful experiences in your life that you think about quite often, right? You see the line coming down, right? This is showing somebody who's had a lot of sad experiences, and you want to be very, very gentle when you bring that up. Can I elaborate on mania? Okay. People are asking about other lines. We'll get to them. Okay. We're going to go around the map, and then we'll come back. Why do people with skepticism get conned? It's because they're greedy and they're looking for shortcuts. You see, when con men profile you, and they're very good at this, when they're looking for marks, they're looking for a certain personality profile. They're looking for people who tend to be morally flexible, are looking for a shortcut, and don't check too deeply. Now, here's what I mean by that. When people fact check, they rarely check any further than 3 levels of citation. So, for example, there's a great book you might want to pick up called Trust Me, I'm Lying. And it's a book about how public relations people and other nefarious information warfare agencies create news. One of the things that they do is if they want to start a rumor, what they'll do is they'll make up an article, they'll post it on a blog somewhere on the internet that has like 5 subscribers. And then they'll cite and curate that blog post and submit it to a larger news agency or news business using that blog post as a citation. Then they'll take that and they'll submit it to like the AP or one of these other big agencies, because most people won't fact check 2 or 3 levels down. Okay, and so after we tested this in our last class on human influence training. We tested the truth filter in people because when you first encounter something, the reptile brain, the part of you that Rolando, the book is called Trust Me, I'm Lying. When we encounter something, the first thing our lizard brain does is it safe, or is it same, or is it different? Is it true or is it not true, right? And the moment it starts to find things that are true, after about the 3rd verification process, the reptile goes to sleep. Unless it's really, really on edge, which is almost never. But what we test this, we would literally have people name 3 to 5 things in the room that were absolutely true. And you could literally see the lights and the consciousness shut off. Their blink rates would change, whole 9 yards. And what was scary about it is that the person doing the test noticed, but the person who was being tested never noticed that their consciousness shifted. And that's because human beings are trance machines. They're always in some form of trance, but our body and our brains are designed around 2 systems, the fast system and the short system, or the fast system and the slow system. The fast system just operates on heuristics, rules of thumb. And so it checks once, it checks twice, it checks 3 times. Okay, must be true. Boom. Doesn't go any deeper. So people, in terms of people who get conned, that's one of the things that they're looking for, right? They're looking for people who are in a hurry. They're looking for people who are ethically flexible and usually greedy. They're usually trying to get the biggest bang for their buck. So even people with skepticism lines may have other things going on that make them susceptible to being conned, right? Right. I always fact check. Yes, the entire nation has probably earned these lines because of the last 4 to 8 years that we've gone through. I made a prediction back in 2016 that nobody wanted to hear, nobody believed, came true. And I've made more predictions since then based on my understanding of human behavior. A certain guy, I predicted a certain guy would win based on nothing more than the influence techniques he was using. I predicted what would happen as a result of that and where we're going next. And what you're seeing now is the next part of that, which is the rebirth of critical thinking in the United States, right? We've been inundated with so much fake news from every side that human beings now, when they are actually awake and aware, will not take anything at face value. They will Google it and Google it and Google it and Google it and even go to other places to fact check. But at some point they'll get tired of checking and they'll just accept the story. So if you've got someone who understands these principles, and social predators do, they won't stop at 3. They'll go 4, 5, 6, 7 levels deep because they know that someone who's kind of more awake will tend to stop at 3 to 4. In fact, there's this process actually. Let me come off this real quick. Let me teach you how pervasive this idea is. When I was training martial arts, I trained, one of the resources I used was a guy named Benny Urquidez. Does anybody here know who Benny Urquidez is? Well, at the time, he was the undefeated world kickboxing champion. And Benny would train his fighters in a very, very special way. You see, most boxers learn combinations in threes. So like jab, hook, uppercut, jab, cross, hook. They'll do them in threes, right? Well, Benny would train all his fighters to do bursts of 5. So what would happen is these fighters would get in a rhythm because they're in rapport. So one boxer would jab, cross, uppercut, and then the other guy would come back with his 3, and they'd just trade blows like that. Well, Benny would train his fighters so that just as the guy was, finished, thought you were done, and he was coming in for a strike, you'd nail him with the 5 and the 4 and the 5, and down they'd go, right? So this idea of threes and checking or thinking a set is done after 3 is actually kind of hardwired. Yeah, Benny the Jet, exactly, is actually hardwired into the human nervous system. So when you see this skepticism marking, be aware that this person has a natural skeptical approach to life. They're not going to take what you say at face value. And so you got to show them proof. You got to be willing to prove things to them, right? Now, when you look, we didn't cover this. We usually cover this first, but people want to jump right into emotions. When you see people with a very large upper zone in their head here, these people are very data driven. So they're going to want to fact check automatically anyway. If they've got a really big upper zone here and this line, now you better have your ducks in a row. You better have your facts straight, and they better be verifiable. Does that make sense? Is this useful? Oh, I'm sorry. My bad. Let me go back and redo this. So once again, I didn't talk about this just for edification of the folks that missed the thing. When you're talking to somebody and you see a really big upper zone, like the top portion of their head is much larger than the rest, and they have these skepticism lines, this is somebody who's going to be all up in your facts. You better have your facts in a row. You better have 3 to 5 levels of support for the data that you're showing. Okay. Again, this is just how you start to trait stack, right? If they're going to call you on it, they're going to check. Okay. All right. So let's move on a little bit. So we talked about sadness. People are asking me to elaborate on mania. Okay. When you see these lines, be aware that this person is prone to fits of megalomania. They're prone to being hyperactive. They can be on the ADD side. Interesting thing about hyperactivity is it can go one of 2 directions. It can go into this ADD approach where they got so much energy they can't focus, they can't sit still, or it can become that they shut themselves in a room for like 72 hours without sleeping and just burn out projects. But these people also tend to be a little bit more aggressive. They tend to be a little bit more they're just very in your face. Okay. They tend to be very sexual. Again, this particular energy is going to magnify any other expressive trait that they have. So if they're dramatic, we'll talk about dramatic. There's a little thing on the lip that we can talk about. If they tend to be very dramatic when they're not hyper, when this mania or hyperactivity kicks in, they're going to go even crazier, right? If you're out on a date with somebody, male or female, and you see these lines, I highly recommend you reconsider going further with the relationship until you know them a lot better. Okay, does that make sense? Right. Now, fortunately, I don't see these really big lines a lot, but they're there, right? Again, our former president had them in spades, and you can see. Again, I'm not passing judgment on his platforms or anything else. I'm just going by what's on his face. You can see these behaviors being expressed. Don't believe me? Go look at his face, right? Especially the side profiles. You'll see it. Interestingly, He's also got what we call mad scientist eyebrows. When you see eyebrows that jut out and like defy gravity, like really like wire brushes, this is somebody who's got, once again, a very fiery brain. They tend to be extremely intelligent, okay? Many times they're so intelligent and they have such a Mr. Fix-It attitude that when they explain the solution to a problem, people don't understand what they're talking about. They think they're nuts. But if you take those big bushy eyebrows we just talked, which means you have a very fiery, very active brain, you combine it with this trait, now what do you think is going to happen when that stuff flares up? Okay. Again, this is not a political debate. So if you're gonna spout politics, that's not what we're here to do. We're here to learn about influence and reading people. Okay. So moving forward, let's go back to sorrow, to these sadness lines. Once again, the outer canthus is going to be a big landmark for us to work from. Okay. When the lines travel further down, you're now dealing with what is commonly referred to as sorrow. This tends to be a deeper level of sadness. It tends to be longer held. In other words, they've been holding on to it for a while, right? So this might be, getting fired from a job or breaking up with someone. This could be death of a loved one. It could be the death of a relationship. When the line extends further down, now you're looking at what we call repressed sorrow, which is grief. Okay, and grief, when you going back to what we talked about here. If we were to take these sadness lines there's your sorrow line. There's your grief line. What area do they pass through? What part of the what part of the body do those areas pass through? The lung, exactly. So those of you who are hypnotists, those of you who are dealing with people with chronic COPD, things of that nature, many times when you unpack their grief or you unpack their lung issues, you'll see them start to cough, they'll start to choke, they'll start to sob in a very specific pattern. You can almost tell people with any kind of COPD, allergies, asthma, there's almost always some kind of loss involved. And the inverse is also true. If people come to you for resolving sadness or grief, you'll often see them have lung issues, or when they start to clear it, their lungs will start to abreact. Keep going. It means you're doing what you're supposed to do. Okay. Does that make sense for those of you who are healers and coaches and therapists and things? It's a feedback loop, right? Now there's another kind of loss that I want to talk to you about, and that starts at the inner canthus, right in here. And it travels once again down through the lung area. We call this a lost love line. Now this line is, again, it sounds like it would relate to a relationship, but it actually doesn't. Oh wait, can you, I'm not sure, am I showing you my screen? Okay, good. Let me pop off for a minute. Because I want to talk about this a little bit. After I get my speaker view back in size here. Okay, anyway, forgive me, my Zoom is playing hell with me. This line at the inner canthus, even though we call it a lost love line, it doesn't necessarily mean that the loss was a person. Lost love lines generally indicate the loss of something that was so special to our sense of identity, so important to who we are as a person and what brought joy into our hearts, that the loss of it was like losing a piece of ourself. Now that could be a person. It could be a person, but many times it can be an activity. The metaphor I use most often is like, let's say when you're a kid, right? You fell in love with horses at an early age, and just the thought, just looking at a horse would light your heart up. Your eyes would beam. If you were having the shittiest day in the world, the minute you saw a picture of a horse or even the hint of being near a horse, your whole energy changed. Now, you've all had situations and activities like that. True, not true? Go ahead and type in the chat if you've had that. Right? And let's say, you can never imagine a life without horses in it. And then at some point in your teens, your 20s, your 30s, something happens. Like maybe you fall, or you meet somebody who has a deathly allergy to horses, can't stand horses, can't even think about horses, but you love this person so much that you decide, okay, for love, I will not be affiliated with horses anymore. I won't have anything to do with horses anymore. That pain of loss that you feel will mark from the inner canthus, and it will move down. And the longer and deeper you have it, the more energy is stuck there. So here's how you start to gauge the intensity of emotion. The deeper and longer the line, the older and more energy is there. Okay? The deeper and longer the line, the more energy is locked in the system. Does that make sense? That's how you gauge it. Could it be connected to resentment? Yes. Very often, when we lose something, we get resentful, but resentment shows up in a different part of the face, which we'll get to in a minute. Okay, you guys with me so far? So a person was asking, is there importance of the left or right side of the face? Yes. And I usually start with that, but you guys wanted to jump into emotions first. So that's where I took you. Okay. Do you want me to jump into public and private side first and then come back to emotions, or you want me to keep going with emotions? What would you like? Okay, good. Okay. So again, like I said, we're going to go on for another 10 or 15 minutes. Then we're going to present to you what we've got going on in terms of training opportunities and things of that nature. Then when that's done, we're going to circle back. We're going to continue to teach. We'll finish the emotional map of the face. We'll talk about decision-making. We'll talk about public versus private. We'll talk about how to spot sociopath, narcissists, and liars. We'll also talk about active versus passive profiling. I do have photos, Marina. It would take me a long time to find them. Okay, but we can again, once we've gotten through our format and we're on our free period, so to speak, I'm happy to take as long as you guys want to. Again, this is for you, right? If you like it, I invite you to take the next step in your training. If you don't like it, click away. But again, my job here is to deliver things that you can actually go out into the field and use. And I hope I'm delivering on that so far. Am I delivering things you can actually use? Go ahead and type in the chat if that's true. I see one yes. Oh, there we go. Okay, cool. Free fun. Okay, good, excellent. So here's the thing I asked: if I deliver enough value and I showed you how to take the next step, how many of you would be ready to do that? Just type that in the chat if you're ready to take the next step. Now, joy can be MST. Joy can be on either the right or the left side. Okay, most of the traits I'm teaching you around the periphery of the face can be on either the right or the left side. However, the difference in how they show up on the right or left side will tell you a lot about where that emotion is strongest in a person's private life or in their public life. Okay, and there's definite things for each that you do when you want to address someone's public life or public persona versus their private persona. Rich Wealthy says, like it is an understatement. I love it. Thank you. That's my goal. Okay, cool. Excellent. All right. So I think I can probably get through pretty much the first half of the face, maybe a little bit further before I have to jump into the next section of the webinar. But if you're okay with that, then that's where we'll go. All right. Let me go back to my screen. Okay, so lost love, very important. Now, some of you are asking me about golden path work. Let me write that in here really quick. Golden path is a very poetic way of saying your mission in life. Okay. Many times, And I do classes on how to find your mission in this life. So for those of you who are into law of attraction, spiritual destiny, manifesting the life you want, spiritual empowerment, this is where you're headed. Okay. So I'm just going to talk about it real quick because it relates directly to this lost love line. When we come into this world, thing you should know, again, there's a lot of you I know, a lot of you I don't. I know most of the people who find their way to Planet David have a strong practical desire to be more influential and understand themselves and people better. A lot of them have a strong energetic and spiritual side to them. So here's what the Chinese say about this idea of lost loves, golden path, and your mission in this life. The golden path is a poetic way of saying your mission in this life. But one of the things that happens, we come in with a way to navigate how to find our mission, how to get on to our golden path. And one of those ways is by the sense of joy and bliss that we experience when we engage in an activity. If there's an activity that you would pay to do, an activity that any chance you get, you're there, that lights you up, even when you're in the most, depressed mood, just the thought of it brings more energy into your life. This is an indicator that this is part of your spiritual mission in this world. There's something about that activity that you're meant to do that's meant to bring a greater level of evolution to the world from your perspective in your personal spiritual mission. Many times as we come into this world and we engage in those activities, the people whose families we're born into, the cultures we're born into, the societies that we're born into say, no, you can't do that. You can't have that. That's inappropriate. That's improper, even though it causes us to light up. Now, that lighting up feeling that you experience in those moments is what the Chinese call your spirit or your Shen. You see, your Shen is bigger than your body. And it wants to come into the body as much as humanly possible. This is going to relate to finding psychopaths when we talk about that at the end of the webinar. The spiritual component, the Shen aspect is what we're going to be looking at. But one of the things that you need to understand, it goes to trauma work, it goes to lost loves, it goes to golden path, it goes to spotting liars and sociopaths. When your spirit comes into the body gets healthier. It gets younger. It gets more resilient. It has energy. Many of you who've been to my trainings wonder how I can teach 8, 10, 12 hours a day, 5, 6, 7 days in a row, and still have time to go out and play and do all these things. It's because teaching you and sharing this information with you is part of my spiritual mission in this world, in this body. So when I engage in those activities, more of my spirit enters my body, and I have infinite levels of energy to do this. Now, I get around something like math. My energy, I have about 10 minutes of cognitive energy and I'm done because math is not my thing. Okay. Why does this relate? When the spirit enters the body, you have health. Now, you've all met people who've been through severe traumas, who are lying to you, who are not having a good time. Do their eyes have any light in them? Does their skin have any glow beneath it? Yes or no? Type what you, no, right. But what happens when you present something to those people that makes them happy? Do their eyes suddenly start to glow? Does more radiance come out from beneath the skin? Yes or no? Or as T. Harv Eker would say, yes or yes. What you're seeing in that moment is the spirit flooding into the body because the body is now a better place to live. When people go through trauma, when people lose the things that go to their golden path, their body experiences pain. Their body experiences discomfort. Their spirit leaves their body. They become dissociated, right? The Chinese call that shenning out. In psychological terms, we call that dissociated. Do liars glow? Not usually, unless they're really enjoying lying to you. They're usually, their shen usually gets very muddy. I'll show you some pictures of good shen if I have time, right? But again, I have a lot to cover in a very short time. MGB says they get horny. Actually, you're not wrong. Again, But that's a little bit more provocative than I would like to go. But yes, they get horny for their pupils will dilate, their eyes will get brighter, brain heart coherence. Yes, very much so. Okay. There's physiological counterparts for each of these spiritual processes. Okay. Okay. So one of the things I want to prime you on is that if there are things in you, if you have these markings and you are a spiritual person who's looking for their purpose, you must reclaim these things. You must find ways to get these things back into your life. And when you do, you will become healthier. You will tend to become more successful faster, and you will look younger. So if you're interested in being healthier, more successful, and looking younger, work on this shit. Okay? Do I make myself clear? And again, we have tools for that if you want to do it, right? But this is how face reading and personality and temperament, they all come together. Okay. So we talked about lost love. We talked about sadness, sorrow, grief. Talk about humor. When you see people who have a little line, hold on a second. You see a little line right in the center of the lip, right here. You see someone who's got a pretty good sense of humor. Okay. They can take a joke. They can tell a joke. This should not be confused with big lips or thin lips. That's a completely different trait. Now, interestingly, if they have this and you see a little extra skin right here, these people are drama magnets. Okay. If they have the humor line, they tend to be very good actors and comedians. If you don't see this line, and you just see extra flesh here, you're looking at somebody who will take a flat tire and turn it into a 5-car collision on the side of the road, right? They'll take, an incidental touch and turn it into an ass grab in their mind and the way they express it. And they won't realize they're doing it. Now, it's not that they're lying. It's just they have a tendency to be very histrionic. I know this because I have people in my classes who have this marking. I have a daughter. I have 2 daughters, in fact, who have this marking. And if you tell them what's going on and you point the trait out to them, even though they've taken the class, they still deny it. Okay. It's one of those things. So, but when you see that extra flesh on the lip, right, understand that these people will tend to take things and blow them out of proportion. They will tend to be a little bit more on the neurotic side. They'll tend to be more on the histrionic side. They'll tend to blow, hyperbole, things of that nature. Okay. And this is one that if you're someone who doesn't like a lot of drama, really pay attention to that marking, right? If you're someone who likes to come home to a peaceful house without a lot of shouting, if both are there, it can work for you or against you, right? Like I said, if people have this, again, if people have this humor line, when they're being funny, they're really funny, okay? But conversely, if they're in a bad mood, this will take precedence, right? If they don't have this humor line, they could still be funny. But when they're in a bad mood or something negative happens, they will blow it. They'll tend to blow things way out of proportion anyway. That filter goes either direction. It's just when you stack it with other traits, what do you get? Okay. So again, this isn't on the emotional map. This is actually a feature that's more of an earth feature, but it comes up enough and it amplifies things enough that I wanted you to have that little caveat. Now, if you have this marking, it doesn't mean you're an idiot or doesn't mean that you're a liar. It means that when you experience events and circumstances, it means they tend to be a little bit more bigger in your mind than they are in actuality from other people's perspectives. And it actually makes sense because your neurology has a 6-to-1 amplification of negative stuff to positive stuff. It's pretty interesting how it works neurologically. I don't know. I think I'll see if I could, again, we'll put a pin in it. I'll circle back. And when we come back from the break, not the break, but the presentation, So Ryan is asking, is the extra flesh the same as the skin or the flesh of the lip? It's more the flesh. It's like there's an extra little bubble of flesh right here. Kind of sticks out a little bit, almost like the prow of a boat. If you know what I'm talking about. Ashland's asking definition of the channel. What? I got the ship lip. Actually, Kathleen, you do. Under the nose. Oh, that's called the philtrum. The channel under the nose is called the philtrum. And we'll talk a lot of, again, in face reading, we have a class coming up next month. We'll be talking a lot about the philtrum. There's a lot of things you can see about the philtrum. Okay. But just to kind of jump into this. Another line you want to be very wary of. I call these the terrible trio: bitterness, disappointment, and over nurturing. If you see horizontal lines or diagonal lines, I'm sorry, laying out around the edge of the lip, what you're seeing here is somebody who's spending a lot of time seeing to everybody else's needs but their own. Now, when that goes on for a certain amount of time, and by the way, these people are doing so out of a sense of obligation because they feel like that's what they're supposed to do. Okay, they don't really feel like they don't realize they have a choice. They think that the rules say that they have to be this way, and so they are. Okay, so many times you'll see this on the faces of spouses who have to take care of their partner because of a medical condition. You'll see this a lot of times in daycare workers or teachers who have to spend a lot of time taking care of a lot of children. You'll see this in older folks as they get, are the disappointment lines different from the laugh lines? Yes. So going back to this, so anytime you see somebody giving more and more and more and over nurturing and taking more care of somebody than like they need to, right? You'll see this in a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Codependent relationships, right? Where someone is taking the primary role of nurturing and enabling the other people. You'll see these lines start to manifest. Now, what will happen is over time, these people will start to get more and more disillusioned. They'll start to realize that based on social programming, they should be getting back from the partner or from the people at least as much as they're giving, and they aren't. And all around them, they see people not following these same rules, getting ahead in life, and they get very bitter about it. So first they become disappointed because they never seem to get back what they give. And that line marks as a wrinkle extending from the corner of the mouth downward. Okay, so over nurturing tends to lead to disappointment. And if this goes on long enough, the disappointment becomes bitterness. And bitterness can be seen by these little horizontal or vertical lines just below the lip. You'll see this a lot in smokers, and they'll say, well, it's just because I smoke. Yeah, the question is, why are you smoking? What's behind that smoking? Paulo Cruz says, how do you see these if a person has a mustache or a beard? Well, the simple answer is you don't. You have to look at other things. Okay. Now, why do I point these three out together? Because if this goes on long enough, remember, this is coming from 15 years. Hold on a second. 15 years of clinical practice. You have a recipe for cancer. And here's how that happens. Hold on, I misspelled my years wrong. Now, if you have these markings, it does not mean you're going to get cancer. It does not mean you have cancer. But I will tell you this, in unpacking cancer in lots of people in various places all over the world, there is no such thing as an emotionally healthy cancer patient. What happens, the etiology of this over time, or pathogenesis, is that over-nurturing leads to disappointment, that disappointment leads to bitterness, that those three get compounded over a course of years and decades, till eventually the person sees, on an unconscious level, the person sees no way to escape that life. And when they see no way to escape, they manifest an exit strategy. That exit strategy is usually some form of chronic illness. Many times it's cancer, sometimes it's Parkinson's. Parkinson's is usually fear though. MS, again, usually fear, but it also can be a lot of shame and guilt. But this whole idea that eventually the neurology manifests a physical pathology as a way to send a message, say, hey, you've got to come in and clean this shit up. And it will mark on the face. Okay. So again, this is not a diagnosis. This is not every single person who has these markings is going to be this way. For everything I show you, there will be exceptions. But I can't waste my time on the exceptions right now. I have to show you what's you're most commonly going to see so you can decide what to do. But if you get a client, for those of you who see patients, if you get clients with these markings, chances are you're going to be shoveling a lot of nurturing shit, bitterness, disillusionment, things of that nature. Okay. So, and again, this will come out as resentment. It will come out as anger. Okay. Because that's where bitterness comes from. When that anger and that resentment is locked in the body too long, it becomes depression and it becomes bitterness. Okay. Does that make sense? Type in the chat if this is useful. Chris is asking a really good question about childhood cancers. Usually it's generational trauma. That, you know, again, extrapolating. Sometimes it's karmic, right? Cool. All right, so here's what we're going to do next. If it's okay with you, I'm going to go ahead and I put together a little training process for you, a little training package that I'd like to present to you. Asia Z says to all panelists, David, I'm loving your teaching style and your first time on one of your webinars. Cool. So Jeremy's asking, do you find these lines vary according to various nationalities? Not as much as you might think. A lot of people ask if there are certain racial tendencies. You have to look at the racial baselines, but a lot of the proportions are the same. I'm still a student of this. As good as I am at it, I feel like a baby sometimes. But by and large, the markings are fairly consistent from race to race, from Asian to Caucasian to Mexican to African American, and all points in between. I see them, they're fairly consistent. Yeah, a lot of that I think has to do with climate and diet. Also, when you see a lot of people who are very young looking, their chances are there's a lot of herbal supplementation that they're doing. There's a lot of lifestyle elements, but also if someone's not marking at all, what you're seeing many times is a case of extreme dissociation. Either they've completely cleared all their shit and they're like the next Buddha, or they're dissociated from their feelings. And that's when they don't mark. Okay. And as you know, Botox, possible. Okay, you guys ready to see what I put together for you? Type yes in the chat if you're okay with that. Okay, cool. Oh, welcome Aram to the private gold archive. All right, let me go ahead and jump back to my PowerPoint and we will go into the next phase. So for those of you, with your permission, I'd like to ask you if you're ready to understand yourself better, to gain an unbeatable edge in life, to take your people reading skills to the next level and your life to the next level. If you're ready, go ahead, type yes in the chat. I am ready. This is the audience participation portion of our work. Cool. Excellent. You guys are awesome today, by the way. Thank you so much for, MST says, well, is that bad to dissociate from your feelings? Yes. Because anything you're dissociated from, you aren't actively processing. And just like water, when it gets stagnant, it only gets unhealthier. Stagnant emotions cause problems. Okay. Stagnant emotions cause problems. Okay. And don't get MST, Miss T, don't get me started on dissociation, because I could go on for hours, because nobody winds up in my chair. Let me just jump back here, because I'm going to say this really, really quickly. For those of you who are therapists and hypnotists and who want to be, as I lovingly call you, a special kind of stupid, because only an idiot would want to sit in a room 8 to 10 hours a day shoveling other people's shit. right? It's not work you choose. It's work that chooses you, okay? Nobody who sits in your chair is there because of things they're expressing. They're there because of things they're not expressing. They're there because they've been taught to hold things in because somebody might not like it, because it might not be appropriate, because somebody might paint you or judge you because of it. Those are the reasons people get sick. And that's why you as a hypnotist, if you understand what I'm teaching you here and you're doing the good work, will never run out of clients, because we have a society and a culture that's programming people to be sick because of this political correctness bullshit. I'm sorry. It's killing you. It's killing you, right? Maybe not right away. That's my opinion. You can believe it or not, right? But 100% of the people who sit in my chair are not there because of things that they're expressing. They're there because of things that are locked in their system because they either can't process it or they won't let themselves process it. Usually a little bit of both. Can I have a session on dissociations and the feelings? Yes, I can do that. Absolutely. Look for face markings or lack of face markings. Yeah. When you see a conspicuous lack of face markings, that's when you need to start asking questions and poking the bear a little bit. And again, in face reading level 1 and 2, I will teach you how to do this for therapeutic reasons, in addition to personality profiling and behavioral reasons. Okay, they kind of pull from the same direction and then they diverge. But again, this idea that we can't speak our truth because somebody won't like it or it'll offend somebody or they might think of it as hate speech is actually making people sick. Okay, and I believe that hate speech needs to be monitored. It needs to be, again, we need to be on, it's not a carte blanche, right? But the idea that we can't express the feelings we have because somebody might not like it and keep it locked inside of us, that'll backfire. Okay, there's all different kinds of trauma. There's what we call complex trauma and there's primary trauma. Lots of things going on there. But anyway, you guys ready to see what I got for you? Yes? All right, let's move on. So here's what I got for you. I'd like to introduce to you my face reading for fun and profit, Secrets of People Reading and Personality Transformation home study course. If you receive value and an aha from anything what I've taught so far, this could be one of the most powerful experiences you ever engage in. Okay. This face reading fun and profit personality transformation program is all about helping you to understand yourself. It's about learning how to read people's personalities, emotions, trauma history in seconds, how to predict their behavior, how to help more people feel more confident, move through the world being more socially and personally and professionally powerful. It's about winning the game of life because you understand people better and you know how to communicate to them and guide them and put them into jobs where they can shine and be their best versions of themselves. Okay, it's about becoming more charming and charismatic and irresistible, all the while doing well by doing good. If you're interested in any of that, I want to share this with you because I think it'll really, really change your life. I really believe that. Here's what I put together for you today. Now, this offer does expire as of March 25th, 2021 at 11:59 p.m. Today's webinar special, Secrets of Face Reading Home Study Course. It's a $1,497 value, and it's filled with powerful, proven, real-world face reading skills and secrets of personal transformation. You're going to learn how to quickly and easily assess people's personality and temperament, how to evaluate their thinking and decision strategies, so you can present information to them in a way that is natural and easy for them to do. If you present how much an emotional reason to somebody who's data driven, they're going to look at you like you're an idiot. If you present data to somebody who's as emotionally driven, they're going to look at you like you're the most boring egghead in the world. They're not going to pay attention. But if you feed them their exact strategy based on the shapes, the relative proportions of their head, which we'll cover when we come back, you'll know exactly how to feed this information to them. You'll know if you're dealing with someone who's a thinker, someone who's very practical or hands-on, someone who's very gut-driven and instinct-driven, and you'll know how to relate to them better, faster, probably than most of their employees do. Okay, you'll learn how to management style. You'll learn how to judge their sexual and romantic compatibility. If you have at least 2 features that are similar to someone you're interested in, there's a high probability that you're compatible at some level. But there are certain ones that are no-go. So you might want to be very careful with that. We'll show you how to connect with people in a very powerful, very deep way. Because when you demonstrate an understanding of a person's inner world and inner environment, they cleave to you. They look at you as an expert. They look at you as somebody who they can be open and honest with and share their feelings with without being judged. And that's a massive, powerful level of psychological leverage to have with another human being. You'll learn how to predict human behavior just by knowing, the shape of their forehead. Are these people that work best alone, or do they need to be? How are they function with a group? If you've got someone who's got a big Frankenbrow, you do not want them in a group taking orders unless they're leading the group and giving the orders. You don't want them necessarily. They tend to work best by themselves. They tend to like to be in charge. They resent authority. They tend to be a little bit more on the passive aggressive side when told what to do or given less than positive criticism. You got to know about those things so that you can put them in the right kind of job or occupation. Right? People who have very, very pronounced cheekbones tend to be extraordinarily bossy and detail oriented. They're going to, they'll focus on getting things finished and may take longer than the deadlines you've assigned. So you need to make sure that you slot them into the right places. Okay. If you'd like to be the most fascinating person, just engage your ego for just a minute. How many of you would like to be like the most fascinating person in the room everywhere you go? Would that be useful? Type in the chat if you think that would be fun. Okay. Face reading will do that. You will have people lined up around the block to get you to talk about their most favorite subject themselves. If you combine this with the things we teach in like echo technique or 3 magic questions, now you've got such an extreme level of chemistry and connection and comfort and desire that these people will just follow you around like little ducklings, right? If you'd like to know how to catch and catch liars and dark triads, narcissists, sociopaths, things of that nature, this is where you go. Okay, I've reorganized the face reading material into a very modernized linear approach, so you don't have to understand Chinese medicine to do a lot of these things and understand a lot of these concepts. We're going to give this to you for it's a $1,497 value, but as you can probably guess, we're not going to stop there. If you grab this special promotion, the special package I put together, you're also going to get these exclusive special bonuses. You're also going to get our Identity by Design Hypnotherapy Home Study Course. This is a $1,497 value. This is going to teach you step by step how to unlock and fix all the things you find in your face reading, how to hypnotize anytime, anywhere, remove blocks to your success and limiting beliefs, find and remove the hidden negativity you didn't even know you had, how to clear up issues that just don't seem to go away. Maybe you go, somebody fixes it and it comes back, right? We'll show you how to address that once and for all. We'll teach you how to change that crappy voice in your head that keeps tearing you down to a voice that's building you up, inspiring you and motivating you and giving you all the reasons why you deserve success that motivate you to take those actions and become that better version of yourself. We'll teach you how to systematically remove all the negativity from your past so that when you look back on your past, you only remember it in ways that make your life better, that inspire you and motivate you and cause you to become the person that you truly want to be inside. And then finally, we're going to take that whole sequence of processes, compress it together and install it as a template at the genetic level in your very DNA using methods and principles that were pioneered by Dr. Bruce Lipton in his books, Biology of Belief. We'll teach you how to imprint this at a cellular level, a DNA level, so it's in your literal DNA. Then we'll teach you how to take the traits, qualities, characteristics, and attributes of people you admire, people who you want to be more like, even if they're fictional, and install those at a deep level of your subconscious mind in such a way, in integrating technology that was used by the Soviets to sweep the 1970s Olympics. They won over 70 gold medals, as well as some of the more deep trance phenomena known as the Rykov effect. We'll teach you systematically how to do all of these things so that you can become the person you want to be instead of the person society, family, religion, and culture conspired to make you. We call this the Identity by Design Hypnotherapy Home Study Course. It's a $1,497 value. We're going to throw this in for you absolutely free so you have the tools you need to make the transformations you want to make. Okay? It's a total combined value so far with the face reading package plus this is $2,994, but we're not going to stop there. We're also going to throw in, because I know a lot of you are into energetics and healing, we're going to teach you and give you this special vibrational healing energy secrets and remote influence home study course. This course literally blows the lid off and pulls the curtain back from all the different schools of energy healing, from Reiki to pranic healing to Bankston to Hermetics to DNA theta healing to Qigong modes of healing. This will show you how these models work, how they differ from each other, what they're good for, what they're not good for. In addition to that, it piggybacks on the things you learn in Identity by Design and teaches you how to use those same techniques to energize and evolve your spiritual bodies. Remember, we talked about your Shen, your spirit being bigger than your body? Well, there's different layers to that. And each of those bodies is seeking to evolve. And you can use the Identity by Design techniques in conjunction with vibrational healing to neurologically evolve and manifest things better, faster, and easier. In addition to that, we'll show you how to unlock the power of your mind to control your energy, build it, and actually use it for something in a measurable, testable way. We literally hook you up to machines, and you raise and lower people's blood pressure, body temperature, heart rate, in blind control. So you actually get objective measurements. You'll know if you're having an effect or not. Okay. We teach you how to influence and heal people in person and remotely, how to clear up issues that just don't seem to go away because for karmic reasons, generational reasons, what have you. We'll teach you how to boost your intuitive and psychic abilities. We'll give you the exact skill sets you need and show you how to practice them. And finally, we'll show you some of the most powerful ways to manifest anything you want in the shortest amount of time possible. And to add that, we'll teach you some of the most powerful ways to protect yourself against manipulation and psychic attack. And there's many types of psychic attack. The vast majority of psychic attacks that people encounter are random. They're just unconscious thought forms that envious people threw at you. But every now and then, you come across somebody who actually has a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of skill, and they're throwing a whammy at you that you need a little bit more expertise to deal with. We'll teach you some of the most powerful ways to insulate and protect yourself and armor yourself and even reverse those things. Okay. If you're actually interested in realizing and tapping into your true potential to becoming the best version of yourself, heck, if you've ever fantasized about being a graduate of Hogwarts, right, or a wizard, this is probably an awesome course for you. And it takes everything you've learned from face reading to Identity by Design to energetics to a whole new level. This is my introduction to Hermetic skills training. A lot of you know I'm a very avid student of Hermetic processes, and we're building up a whole bunch of new courses that build on these technologies. So this is a great way for you to get the best of all worlds, starting from the most fundamental practical and building on that in testable ways. So if you're tired of bullshit, if you're tired of BS, if you're tired of being told you just got to believe in something for it to work, this is a great place to start because you don't got to believe in any of this shit. In fact, the studies show that the less you believe it, the better the results you get because belief somehow gets in the way sometimes. Okay. This is a $1,497 value. It's yours absolutely free. We're just going to throw this in because we want you to take this as far as you can. And then when you're ready, come to those live events. Total value is $4,491. We're not going to stop there. For those of you who want to take your people reading skills even further, remember, in today's webinar, we're just talking about the face. But what about everything from the neck down? What is, how do we integrate that into everything we're learning? This is called active profiling. We call this people reading for fun and profit. This is one of the very first body language courses I ever created. It's a $997 value, and this will teach you everything from the face down. Okay, it'll understand the body language of attraction. There are 7 discrete phases that human beings go through from stranger to intimacy. And we'll teach you what each of those 7 stages are so that you can look at anybody, anytime, anywhere, and know what stage of intimacy they're in. When you're out on a date, you can know exactly by the other person's body language, their proximity, their ventral orientation, how into you they really are and what to do next to take it even further faster. Okay, you'll find that when you utilize these things, it becomes much harder for people to lie to you and be intentionally deceptive. You'll be able to influence people without words and psychologically position yourself in their minds just by how you use the spatial relationships between you. You'll understand women better. Women, you'll understand men better because these are all co-ed classes. I don't do single gender classes anymore. I only teach classes where men and women are present so both sides can learn how the other side thinks and they can learn to bridge that gap. This class is no exception. We'll teach you how to dress for success and use specific colors, shapes, and textures that bring out the best version of you. And we'll show you some pretty dramatic examples of that. You'll learn how to eliminate behaviors that weaken your influence. You'll close more deals, you'll get more dates, you'll almost never be taken by surprise in a social situation ever again. But don't take my word for it. Apply the material and see how much it bears fruit for you. Total value so far of everything we've talked about is $5,488. But as you can probably imagine, we're not done yet. A lot of you are asking me, how do I catch liars? How do I catch sociopaths and narcissists? Well, a few years back, I did a crash course called Lie to Me If You Dare, How to Catch a Liar. It's a How to Catch a Liar crash course. It's a $97 value. It's a relatively short video compared to our regular course. I think this is 2 or 3 hours of some of the most hard-hitting, most useful and consistent lie detection stuff available. Psychological tips and tricks for catching liars on contact. You'll understand the key indicators of deception, why no single cue is an indicator of deception, the top 2 things people miss when trying to, or 3 things actually, that people miss or forget about when trying to catch a liar, why people believe lies, understand the 15 unique tells that clue you in when people may be lying to you, how to look at everything the body is doing and understand it from a kinesics perspective. There's a body interpretation perspective. Men will teach you once again how to understand women better. Ladies will teach you how to understand men better. We'll teach you how to eliminate behaviors that weaken your influence yet again and close more deals and get more dates. And finally, how to never be manipulated again. This is it's a big claim. Don't believe me. Get the course, apply the material, notice what happens, okay? Total value now $5,585 with everything, if you could buy it on the website. So let's review. Okay, we've got the Secrets of Face Reading Home Study Course valued at $1,497. We've got the Identity by Design Hypnotherapy Home Study Course valued at $1,497. We're going to give that to you absolutely free. We're going to give you the Vibrational Healing and Remote Influence Home Study Course, $1,497 value, absolutely free. People Reading for Fun and Profit 2-day intensive valued at $997. We're going to give it to you free. And finally, the Lie to Me If You Dare, How to Catch Liars crash course, $97 value, completely free. Total value, if you grab this offer today, is $5,585. But as you can probably guess, we're not going to stop there, because here's my point. I have such a high degree of confidence, not faith, confidence in this material. I want you to use it for 90 days. Test it. Take these puppies out, test them, see if they're not true, see if they work for you. Use these Secrets of Personality Transformation courses. And if you're not using them to make more money, closing more deals, attracting more success, and getting more of what you want in life, and not feeling more secure and confident and powerful in what you're reading, if you're not able to win in social encounters and be the irresistible version of yourself you want to be, I'll give you your money back. Try it for 90 days. Test it, right? If it doesn't work, pick up the phone. Give us a chance to walk you through any sticking points that you have. If it's still not working, we will refund your money and keep the courses as our way of saying thank you for putting your faith in us, okay? Like I said, if it works, keep it. If it doesn't work, let us help. Right? We have Stephanie is amazing at customer service. She's amazing at guiding people through sticking points. And if there's something she can't walk you through, first person she's going to reach out to is me, and I will answer your questions and we'll get you through it. And if it's still not working for you, we'll give you your money back. No questions asked. Okay, but give us a chance to help you more intimately and more personally. Okay, but you give it 90 days. If it doesn't deliver, ask for your money back. Okay, all you got to do to get yours is go to www.nlppower.com/face. www.nlppower.com/face. But in case you were wondering, as if this wasn't enough, we've got more. For those of you who are like to think of yourself as fast action takers, if you grab this course before March 25th, 2021 at 11:59 p.m., you get these bonuses too. You're going to get a 3-month trial membership to our NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program. Let me explain a little bit about what the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program is. The NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program has been a hands-on practice group that has been running nonstop since October of 2010. It is not a certification group. It is a group of people who get together on the 3rd Saturday of every month. And on that 3rd Saturday of every month, I literally go around the room and I say, Allegra, what do you want to learn? Holly, what do you want to learn? Ashlyn, what do you want to learn? Jeff, what do you want to learn? John, what do you want to learn? Jim, what do you want to learn? I had a lot of Joshes and J words in my group. Catherine, what do you want to learn? Right? And I just go around the room. Sometimes we have 20 people, sometimes we have 5, sometimes we have 100. Well, not quite. We have, I think the most we've ever had was about 50 when we live streamed it. But we literally go around the room and I ask what you want to learn. I write them on my little board. I look at where they all connect. I create a lesson plan right on the spot. And for the next 4 hours, I drill you on those skills, either in person or virtually, until you can do them in your sleep. At the end of that 4 hours, you go out into the world to apply your newly honed skills to create better results. You come back on the next Saturday, third Saturday of the month, and I'm going to ask you the same thing. What do you want to learn now? 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 Write them on the board. We drill and we skill. You will not get a certification from your trial membership in the mastermind. What you will get is real world hands-on skills that you can use out there to get everything you want. We've been running that course or that program nonstop to 2021 now for going on 11 years. We have videotaped and archived every single session for the last 10 and a half years, and it's stored in 3 places. Part of it is stored on the NLP Power website. Part of it is archived on our private Facebook group. Part of it is archived on our private Platinum members YouTube channel and our Gold members YouTube channel. So as part of your 3-month trial membership, you get access to the entire archive for that 3 months. So not only do you get to roll up your sleeves with people who like to do cool stuff just like you get to binge watch 11 years of content that has never seen YouTube. With very few, maybe 1 to 5 videos is most we've ever released. Hundreds of hours of video, right? If you like it after 3 months, reach out to Stephanie, let her know you want to continue your subscription. If you don't, tell her just to take your name off the group. We'll remove you from all the groups, and you had an amazing time, right? It's a $594 value. We should actually charge more like $1,594, but we're going to give it to you free just because we want you not only to have the information, to watch the information, to consume it at your leisure. We want you to have the opportunity to do the most important thing. The most important thing is roll up your sleeves, do the drills, and get the skills. Network and interact with people just like you who have stuff they want to work on and are looking for partners. Nothing makes a person good faster than actually getting in an interaction with people and getting feedback on it in a non-seminar environment. So if you want to take your skills, whether it's face reading, whether it's influence, whether it's hypnosis, coaching, regression, trauma work, energy healing, manifestation, copywriting, sales, doesn't matter. Every application is available to practice in the mastermind. And that's one of the cool things about the mastermind. One of the reasons I'm so good at what I do is because every month for the last 11 years, I had one guy that wants to learn how to do regression. I have another guy who wants to learn how to pick up chicks. I have another girl who wants to learn how to pick up guys. And I have another person over here who wants to write better email copy. And I have to find a way to integrate all of those things with a common thread so everybody gets what they want. So it's forced me to think about things in a very different way, and it'll do the same for you, right? The more you interact with people, the more you roll up your sleeves and do the drills and get the skills, better off you're going to be, okay? So we're going to give you 3 months to try it out. If you like it, stay. If not, you had a great time. Okay, but we're not going to stop there. If you grab one of these special promotional packages today, we're also going to throw in, total value, by the way, is $6,179. We're also going to throw in Face Reading for Fun and Profit Level 2 Home Study Course. This is a class we taught one time. We videotaped it. We have not released the Level 2 course to the public. After I'm done presenting this and we start doing the back end of the webinar, I'll share with you some highlights, some things that we taught in Face Reading Level 2 so you can appreciate the difference. This is a $1,497 value. It picks up where Face Reading Level 1 left off. It teaches you profiles of the face. It teaches you how to read the age markings on the face, how to understand personality and temperament, the 5 elements, trauma history, things of that nature. It takes you to the next level, okay? It's a $1,497 value. This is yours absolutely free. In fact, one of the things you'll find out when you get this course is that when I went to teach this class, I didn't realize that I had geniuses in my audience. I had prepared what I thought was like 3 to 5 days worth of material. They went through it all in 2. I had to make more stuff to teach them. And so you'll actually see me bringing out stuff I had no intention of teaching. Okay. $1,497 value, which here is absolutely free. Combined value of everything I've talked about so far is $7,676. But we're not done. This has never been released, and I don't know when it will be released out to the public. So for the next 25 people who register today, and if you've already started clicking the link, you qualify for this. This goes really fast, so please bear with me. For the first 25 people who register today, you're going to get the Face Reading for Fun and Profit virtual live 3-day certification boot camp scheduled for April 9th to the 11th, 2021. It's what we call a VIP super ticket. This VIP super ticket is good for any single live event in our 2021-2020 calendar. Okay, so if you can't make the face reading online, which I don't see why you couldn't, you can use it for one of our other live events. It's a $1,950 value. But for those of you who decide to jump into the Face Reading for Fun and Profit virtual training, we are also going to give you absolutely free a complete video copy of your training. So not only will you have the opportunity to have the Face Reading for Fun and Profit home study course that we talked about initially, you'll also get a copy of the training that you've attended. So you can actually watch your own breakouts, you can watch people interacting, and you can relive that event over and over and over again. Okay, total value for this whole package right here is $3,447. That would be $1,950 plus the $1,497 video. We're going to give it to you absolutely free. All you got to do is pick up the phone and let Stephanie know that you want to use that VIP ticket for the virtual face reading program, or if you want to hold on to it and wait until we do a live one, you can do that too. Okay, but I know a lot of you want to get started, want to jump down that rabbit hole as fast as possible. This is going to be the easiest way for you to do that. So you're going to become, if you come to the live event, this is a virtual training. You will be issued a provisional certified face reading level 1 certificate. You'll learn how to instantly read people's personalities, understand how they think, feel, and behave, measure their sexual or romantic compatibility, their current state of physical and emotional health. You'll be able to uncover and resolve forgotten traumas, stuff they didn't even know they were holding on to. You'll learn how about their relationships with their parents and their siblings and how that's affecting their work and home and life and their relationships. You'll understand how they make decisions, the secrets they keep, are they more private or public, and much, much more. It's a very, very cool course. This is, again, one of my favorite courses to teach because it allows us to really understand people from both sides of the equation, both from an active profiling, which is how to detect liars, cheaters, and stuff, and also what kind of emotional lifestyle do they actually lead. Okay. Total value of everything I've talked about so far, if you were to buy it from the website, which you can't because some of this stuff simply isn't available, is $11,123. Okay. So again, just to recap, Secrets of Face Reading home study course valued at $1,497. You're going to get the Identity by Design hypnotherapy home study course valued at $1,497. You're going to get it absolutely free. You're going to get the Vibrational Healing, Energy Healing, and Remote Influence home study course, $1,497 value, absolutely free. You're going to get the People Reading for Fun and Profit 2-day intensive, $997 value, absolutely free. You're going to get the Lie to Me If You Dare How to Catch Liars crash course, $97 value. We're going to give that to you absolutely free. And for the first 25 people who grab this course before the deadline, these fast action bonuses go away when I log off the webinar. This other package will stay around for maybe 24 hours afterwards, but these fast action bonuses, these FABs as I call them later on, the NLP Power Mastermind Practice Group Trial, $594 value, free. We're going to give you the Face Reading Level 2 pre-release version, $1,497 value, free. And we're going to give you that free VIP super ticket plus a video copy of your own personal training for a total value of $3,447. We're going to give it to you absolutely free for the first 25 people who grab this course tonight. And Scott's asking, is a payment plan available? The answer is yes. Total value of this course is $11,123, but we're not going to charge you that. We're not even going to charge you half of it. We're not even going to charge you $6,000. We're not even going to charge you half of that. We're not going to charge you $26,697. You can grab all of this amazing, cool stuff today. You can start downloading it and watching it instantly. today only for one low installment of just $9.97. Or if you need to, you can break that. And all you got to do is go to www.nlppower.com/face. That's www.nlppower.com/face. And if you want to, you can break that up into 3 easy installments of just $397. And all you need to do to get the payment plan, if you need it, is just reach out to Stephanie, let her know that you want to do a payment plan. Her number is 858, hold on a second, 858-282-4663. If the line is busy, keep calling, because again, people rush to do this. If you get an answering machine or the voicemail, please, please, please leave your message. Please, please, please leave your message. Something about an X coming back here. At Berserker 100, X is an extra reason. Are you looking back? Okay, that's not anything I need to know. So again, today only $9.97 or 3 easy installments of just $3.97. Then once again, this expires at 11:59 p.m. today. It's March 25th. These fast action bonuses, the webinar special itself expires at 11:59 p.m. The fast action bonuses go away when I end the webinar. So if I'm on for another hour or 2 hours teaching you other cool stuff, you still have a chance. But the moment I log off this webinar, the VIP ticket and the extra video go away, the face reading level 2 package goes away, and the chance to work hands and personally with me in the mastermind group goes away. So again, and everything here is worth it at full price. But if you want the biggest bang for your buck, I highly encourage you to grab this amazing package. It's probably the best thing you can do because it has the best of both worlds. It has all the information you're going to need. Plus, it gives you the chance to do the one thing that makes wimps into warriors in terms of this material. It gives you the chance to come to a live event and interact with me and get this stuff really, really imprinted inside of you so that you own these techniques. Okay? That's my job, to make you awesome. But I can't multiply zeros. If you don't show up, I can't help you. Right? So by all means, grab the Face Reading for Fun and Profit Home Secrets of Personality Transformation Home Study Course, $1497 value. The Identity by Design Hypnotherapy Home Study Course is a $1497 value. You're going to get that free. Vibrational Healing, Remote Influence and Energy Healing Made Easy, $1,497 value. Once again, it's a freebie. Bonus, People Reading for Fun and Profit, How to Catch a Liar Crash Course, $97. We're going to give it to you free. And finally, those super fast action bonuses, the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Practice Group Trial and the archive, the 10 years of archive video. Way more than $594 value. We're going to give it to you absolutely free so you can take your skills to the next level without having to leave your house. Or if you want to leave your house, when we start doing live things again, you can come and do it that way. We're going to give you Face Reading for Fun and Profit Level 2. That's never been released. You can't find it on the website. We're going to give it to you before anybody can buy it. $1,497 value. And finally, that free VIP super ticket. And I should probably tell you something about that super ticket. You have it until you use it. If it takes you 2 years to cash in that ticket, well, it's good. All you gotta do is pick up the phone, let Stephanie know you want to use that ticket. She'll move you to the event. If something comes up at the last minute and you can't get to the event you've reserved a seat for, pick up the phone, let Stephanie know. We'll move you to another event. If you want to gift that ticket to a friend or a loved one so that they can have a live experience, we can do that too, okay? Price points to the events no longer matter, right? If the price of that you want to come to is $997 or $1497 right now, and a year later it jumps up to $2250, which it may very well do that. It doesn't matter. That VIP ticket will still get you in, okay? You have it until you use it. You don't even need to know what training you want to attend. You just have to have your name in our database as a VIP ticket holder. And when you're ready to cash it in, Stephanie will take care of you. So again, total value for all this wonderful stuff is $11,123. Today, you can get it all for just one low installment of $997, or if you need to, you can break that up into 3 easy installments of just $397. And all you got to do to get it is go to www.nlppower.com/face, www.nlppower.com/face. That will redirect you to a page, www.nlppower.com/face. I would really do that now if I were you. If you're at all interested in anything that I shared with you today, this is your chance to get the biggest bang for your buck. Because I promise you the prices will go up, and they will go up a lot very, very soon. I can't tell you why that's true, but that it is. And again, I'm not trying to pull a scarcity tactic. It's just our overhead's going up, and so we have to pass that on, unfortunately. That being said, I'm going to give you guys a 7-minute restroom and potty break. And then what we're going to do is we're going to circle back and we're going to finish the emotional map of the face. We're going to transition into decision strategies. And then if you guys want to, we'll talk a bit about the Shen aspect. We'll talk about psychopaths, sociopaths, lie detection, things of that nature. And then I'll answer any other questions that you have that may be relevant to the topic of how to understand and read people. Does that sound like a plan? Type in the chat if you think that sounds like a good plan after you click the links for the NLP Power thing. Cool. Excellent. Thank you, Scott. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to leave this on the screen for you while I use my 7-minute restroom break to get rid of my borrowed coffee. When we come back, we will circle back and begin teaching again from the emotional map of the face. Okay. See you soon. By the way, if you do have questions, go ahead and type them in the chat on the break because I will read those. And if I don't answer them right away, I'll answer them in the follow-up to the webinar. So go ahead and, again, type your questions in because if you don't type them, you may forget them. All right, folks. Hopefully everybody's gone potty, got their coffee, their chocolate, all kinds of good stuff. So once again, if you haven't gone to www.nlppower.com/face and reserve one of the last remaining packages, please, when would now be a good time to do that? Just to reiterate, you're going to get the Secrets of Face Reading Home Study course valued at $1,497. And along with that, you're going to get a ton of free, I just got the email, excellent. Identity by Design Hypnotherapy Home Study course. You're going to get $1,497 value, absolutely free. You're going to get the Vibrational Healing, Energy Healing, and Remote Influence Home Study course, $1,497 value, absolutely free. Vibrational Healing and Energy Healing Remote Influence course, $1,497 value, also yours free. By the way, if anybody's interested, we're actually doing a vibrational healing seminar, I think in June or July. Check with Stephanie to see if you qualify for that. But because usually you have to have killer influence under your belt before you do that. But if you have, might be a good thing. People Reading for Fun and Profit, 2-day intensive, $997 value. Once again, you're going to get that absolutely free. Lie to Me If You Dare, How to Catch Liars crash course, valued at $97. And of course, the FAB bonuses, FAB, of course, standing for Fast Action Bonuses. They're also kind of FAB. The #1 NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Practice Group Trial and Archive, $594 value. Face Reading for Fun and Profit, Level 2 pre-release version, home study course, valued at $1,497. Then, of course, our FAB bonus #3, which is our 3-day Face Reading for Fun and Profit virtual certification bootcamp. Plus, you get to keep a personal video copy of your Zoom interventions or Zoom interactions. For the first 25 people to grab this, that course will launch for 3 days, April 9th through the 11th. And it will be done from the comfort of your own living room. Total value of all that good stuff is $11,123. All of it can be yours today for just one low installment of $997 or 3 easy payments of just $399. All you got to do is go to www.nlppower.com/face. Aram Sanchez is asking, where's the location of the live seminars? Until further notice, all of our live events take place at the Orleans Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada, and we will be there through July. We are working on doing some events in Florida, but those have yet to be ironed out. So as of now, everything we're doing is in Las Vegas. It's the easiest place in the country to get to. The Orleans is easily one of the most affordable locations, and they take a real good care of us when we're there. So we really want you to come out and see with us. Okay. So let's see here. So I'm going to go ahead and jump back from the PowerPoint to my face-to-face with you. And do you guys, what questions do you guys have? You want to pick up back with the emotional map of the face? Or do you want to do something else? Okay. So we left off at bitterness, over-nurturing, and disappointment. Right? So now, one of the things I want to caution you against, there's 2 markings that people often confuse one for the other. The disappointment marking is a wrinkle that descends down from the corner of the mouth. Okay? Disappointment is a wrinkle that should not be, and you'll learn about this in either Face Reading 1, the end of Face Reading 1 or Face Reading 2. That should not be confused with a downturned mouth, which means something else. Okay. So again, if it's a wrinkle that descends down from the corner of the mouth, you're looking at disappointment. If it's a downturned mouth, in other words, the corners of the mouth themselves are turned down, now you're looking at actually more of a pessimistic outlook. Okay. Rich Wealthy is asking, can you speak about guilt, shame, and fear? Of course I can. Of course I can. And I will. So let's go jump back to our face stuff. Where is that? Oh, I closed it. Huh, there we are. Let me try that again. There we go. All right, so back to the face. So we've covered the first half of the face, right? We've covered skepticism, joy, sadness, sorrow, grief, humor, bitterness. We've covered over-nurturing. We've covered disappointment. We've covered humor. We've covered bitterness. We've also talked a little bit about mania or hyperactivity. Next one I want to talk about is what we call fear. Fear manifests on the chin. Now, if you go back to this map I showed you earlier, you'll see that the chin itself is related to the organ of the kidney. Now, the kidney organ as well as the bladder are both related to what we call the water element. And again, you don't need to understand elements to do the system I'm teaching you. If you're doing it classically, it helps, right? So this is what we call a water area of the face. And what's interesting about it is that the characteristics and correspondences of this particular body segment or body location are the willpower and fear. So one of the things you'll notice is people who have a lot of adrenal fatigue, people who have a lot of knee pains, things of that nature, these are all areas of the body that the kidney meridian, the kidney energy system runs through. So when people are holding on to a lot of fear, that fear energy will migrate to water element locations in the body, one of which is the forehead, another is the chin. And so the chin is where fear tends to show up. And when I'm talking about fear, I'm talking about repressed fear, people who are in a chronic state of fearfulness that is always just below the surface. Now, the problem I have with this diagram is that it shows these markings as like wrinkles. And clinically, that's not how I see fear manifesting. When I see fear, and I do see fear on the chin, but when I see it more like little dimples, like little dots. Now, these dots will tend to show up when somebody is actively in a fearful state. But if you meet somebody who's not in an obviously fearful state and these markings are there, what you're seeing is somebody who's repressed a lot of fear somewhere in their body and it's marking on their chin. Okay? And so when you see this, understand that you're probably going to be dealing with some kind of childhood abuse or trauma, social phobias, things like that, but it's long-standing. Okay, does that make sense? Does Chinese medicine and face reading work differently or less reliably in reading psychopaths? No, you just read different things. Psychopaths and sociopaths specifically. By the way, there is no such thing as a clinical definition in the DSM-5 of a psychopath. Psychopath just means mentally ill. So mentally ill can be just about anything from OCD to extreme neurosis, right? Or dissociative identity disorder. So psychopathy is really not a workable diagnosis, okay? When we're talking about predatory personalities, we're talking about the classical narcissistic personality disorder, we're talking about Machiavellians, we're talking about sociopathic people. And then when those things manifest together, they're known as a dark triad. And we actually have a whole mini course that we did for our private YouTube people on how to catch liars, cheaters, and other narcissistic a-holes. So if you're a member of our platinum group or level or higher, our platinum YouTube membership program, those videos, the part 1 and 2 are both available in your platinum members area. You can go watch those videos and we show you all the deception indicators or common tactics, things of that nature. We can touch on it a little bit here when we get to the Shen part, but to answer your question, Kate, when we look for sociopaths, we're looking in the eyes almost completely. And I'll show you, again, it'll take me a few minutes to find the pictures because again, I wasn't prepared to go that direction today. But if you'll bear with me while I look for the pictures, I'm happy to show you what some of these things look like, okay? And keep in mind, there's other things you've got to factor in. Just like no single behavioral cue means anything, just because someone has a lazy eye doesn't necessarily mean they're a psychopath or a sociopath, right? So Armada says, I don't have an account yet and I don't know how to make one. Go to the community tab and it should be a link there for creating whatever. There's 3 levels to it. And I'm sure if you reach out to Stephanie or Brandon, they can help you with that. Yes, people's traits change based on the emotions that they're processing. Okay, so we're at fear, right? The next one we go up is actually one of the better lines. This is, again, one of those occasions where there's actually some good lines that we want to have. This one starts from the corner of the Alanasi
And it works down towards the corner of the mouth. And among all the many lines that can manifest on the face, this is one of the ones we want. These are called purpose lines, or in some cases, the Chinese term is fa ling. Okay. These lines tend to show up when we are doing things that are in harmony with our golden path, that are in harmony with what brings more spirit into our bodies. They're an indication that we're doing our life's work, or at least we're closer to our life's work than the average bear, right? The Chinese used to say, if you reach the age of 50 and you don't have these, you're in trouble, right? So the Chinese say, you're never closer to your original face than when you're born. And by the time you reach the age of 50, you've got the face you deserve. So they're a little bit negative. Well, I wouldn't say negative, but they're a little bit catty that way. Okay, but when you have these lines, it shows that you're, and again, going back to this idea of public versus private, we divide the face down the center, the right side of the face equals your public face. The left side of your face equals your private. So if we look at these purpose lines, and they're obviously more developed on the public side, we can deduce that this person is in a career path that is in harmony with their golden path, their the destiny or the mission that they came to Earth to fulfill. We can also extrapolate that their home life isn't nearly as satisfying or healthy for them as what they need. We can also extrapolate the reverse. If somebody's got a very strong purpose line on their private side, but a very faint one or a very short one on their public side, we could extrapolate that at home, they're living the life they love. But their job is not fulfilling them. It's not moving them forward. So if your face looks like a prune, it means you need to drink a whole lot more water and you got a lot of work to do. But if you do the work, Miss T, those wrinkles will fade. Now, there's a lady named Kelly who works with my teacher, Lillian. And they show pictures of Kelly 20 years ago when she started doing face reading, and they put a picture to her that was taken like last year, and she looks 20 years younger, and she's done nothing but clear up her own shit. Do I have a purpose line? Yes, I do. I have a couple. Right. Might be hard to see with the lighting, but yes. And my purpose lines tend to get bigger when I teach. Okay. So questions about falling lines or purpose lines before I move on? For those of you who have questions for Stephanie, you can reach her at stephanie@nlppower.com. And you can go to http://www.nlppower.com/face for those of you who, again, in case our YouTubers didn't catch that. Yeah, one of the things that happens is the face accumulates wrinkles based on the degree of emotional toxicity that we're holding in our body. As we unpack the emotions marked on the face, those wrinkles will disappear. Herman Segay says, I'm 32 but don't have any purpose lines. Okay, is the job you're doing fulfilling you? If it's not, you need to start exploring yourself. Yeah, Lady Tina says, yeah, like reverse the process. Yes, it's weird. It's the one of the weirdest, and in Planet David, weird is kind of the word of the day. But when you see this happen, and it happens over Zoom. I was working with a lady one time, and and she had led a life where basically her entire family had just repressed her. Every time she wanted to express herself, they told her she was stupid, she was dumb, it would never work, all these things. And when we started the session, she had relatively thick eyebrows, but like it was flat up here, right? And as we're going through the process and we're clearing all her stuff, at some point we clear this one thing, I look up and she's got like a Frankenbrow. It's like she literally grew bone in the space of like 2 minutes. Like, poof. It just popped out like a turkey baster, or like one of those turkey thermostats pop out, like when the turkey's done. It was the craziest thing I ever seen. But don't take my word for it. There are seasoned, experienced face readers on the chats here who've experienced the exact same thing. Ask them to tell you their stories. Robert says, I have purpose lines and they're both pretty big. Sweet. Good job, Robert. Or Simon, Robert. Do you like Simon? Do you like Robert? What do you like? Some people refer to them as laugh lines. The Chinese refer to them, I think the technical term is fa ling. Fa ling. I call them purpose lines because to me, that's what they indicate. And generally speaking, if you're on track with your life, you tend to smile a whole lot more. So there tends to be a whole lot more joy in what you're doing. So moving forward, we're going to get into some lines that, again, don't take these the wrong way. If you look at the face from a side view, I don't know if I can zoom in. Let me see if I can zoom in on my face. Oh, no, I don't want to. Oh, darn it. Hold on a second. I clicked the wrong button. Let me see. I want to see if I can zoom in. It's not going to let me. No, it's not going to let me zoom in. Oh, yes, it can. Okay, good. So there, okay. So now, I don't know if you can see, but I have some lines like right in front of my ears, right here. They're like little wrinkles, they almost look like little gills. I don't know if you can see them. Okay. Those are what we call auditory intuition lines. And auditory intuition lines are actually a result of a form of PTSD. It's hold on a second, let me move my zoomer back here. Okay. All right. So, so what happens with people with these auditory intuition lines is that these people grew up in a less than safe environment. They grew up in an environment where they had to constantly listen between the lines to figure out what mood someone was in, to figure out what might set them off. You guys know what I'm talking about. You know how when you kind of have to walk on eggshells all the time and really pay attention to what people are saying and how they're saying it so you know what not to say? You guys know what I'm talking about? If you understand what I'm talking about, type that in the chat. Okay, cool. So when you see people with these lines, they have really good bullshit detectors. People with this marking tend to develop the ability to read between the lines, to hear what's not being said. The technical term, I think, is subtext, right? They incongruent, especially auditory incongruities, tend to just jump right out at them. And so I call them good bullshit detectors. But it actually, and it's a great skill, and it's a great characteristic later on in life. But it doesn't start out that way. It starts as a self-protection mechanism for people growing up in very threatening and dangerous environments, where you had to be really careful about what you said and who you said it to. You know, Lillian talks about, and I can relate to this really, really well. She could tell when her husband got home by the way he closed the car door what mood he was in, right? Her ability to, and she has these lines in spades. Most good therapists do, by the way. But a lot of good lawyers have this. A lot of coaches have this. Good salespeople. But it doesn't start off as it's one of those kind of diamond. You know, it starts off as being this lump of carbon crap that you have to deal with, and then later on, as you evolve and you move out of those environments, if you do, it becomes a really powerful superpower, like a really useful superpower to have, where you can just listen to people and you know they're lying to you. You just can hear it in their voice and the incongruities. So it's really, really useful. Yes, like children growing up with alcoholic parents, very common, because you never know what's going to set them off, right? And that's, again, something I want you guys to be very aware of. Let me find, my whiteboard disappeared again, darn it. Hold on a second. Okay. So that's really useful. But here's the flip side to this. The location of where this particular marking is over the triple warmer gallbladder area of the face. The triple warmer is part of the the meridian system that controls water metabolism in the body. This marking can also indicate a tendency towards water metabolism issues, specifically dehydration. Now, here's why this is important, because this is what happened with me. Some of you may resonate with this. If you have this marking, okay, there is a tendency, not in addition to being very good at catching liars and bullshit artists and things like that, there's a tendency towards dehydration. Okay, so people with this tendency, when they're aware of it, tend to drink a lot more fluids. Now, the problem with that is that the more fluids you drink, the more electrolytes you tend to flush out of your body, because we replenish the water, but we don't replenish the electrolytes. And when you have a lack of potassium and magnesium and other trace minerals in your body, you start to develop heart palpitations, and it can often manifest in what we often misconstrue as panic attacks. So if you have these markings and you also tend to have heart palpitations or what you think are panic attacks, there's a good chance that what you're dealing with is an electrolyte deficiency due to dehydration and drinking too much water and not replenishing those trace minerals. So I bring this up because I figured this out on my own. Individually, I figured out that a lot of my heart palpitations were actually because of a lack of electrolytes. And so when I actually put the electrolytes back into my diet, I started supplementing with them. The palpitations almost went away almost practically overnight. And they didn't come back as long as I kept my electrolyte balance up. But then I realized, I knew I had water metabolism issues from a long time ago, but I never correlated this marking with this because of the electrolyte connection. So if you have these markings and you tend to experience rapid heartbeats, tachycardia, right? Irregular heartbeats, what's your electrolyte balance look like? You might want to start considering, go to a physician first and experiment with supplementing. If you drink a lot of caffeine, which has a diuretic effect, you can also kind of promote that, that dehydration process. You can facilitate it. Okay. So again, just a little fun factoid, check with your physician before, making any diagnoses or anything like that. Valerie's asking, can it also be just an environment where the person just wants to say the right thing? So yes, 100%. Again, any place where you have to pay extra special attention to what is said and how it is interpreted, these markings will develop. It's a form of hypervigilance. The technical term is auditory hypervigilance. Okay. It seems like a lot of people have this. True or not true? Type in the chat if you got this. Did we lose? People are not typing. Did I lose you all? If you're here, type I'm here in the chat. Damn it. I don't know, it says, oh, I feel attacked. I don't know what you're feeling attacked from, but that's all right. Let's see here. So our YouTubers are having fun over there. All right. There's Brent. Cool. All right. All right. Our Zoomers are just kind of hanging out. I joined a lot. Hi, Nathan. Welcome. Spiritual says I'm here. Good, good, good. Okay, cool. All right. Moving on. So we got purpose lines, auditory intuition. Another line you want to pay attention to. And again, I'm going to have to show you my ear again. Okay. So hold on a second. Okay. So on this one, all right. So if you can, hold on a second. Okay. If you look very carefully, you'll see little tiny wrinkles in my earlobe, right? Here, right on the lobe itself. Those markings indicate blood pressure irregularities. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean you have high blood pressure. Let me put the picture back up. go. Okay, so I'll use this side over here so you can see a little bit better. So the markings look like little wrinkles in the earlobe, right? Sometimes it's one, sometimes it's two. These indicate that you tend to have erratic blood pressure. So sometimes your blood pressure is high, sometimes your blood pressure is low. The other psychological characteristic that goes along, and I have this in spades, by the way, is a tendency to be overreactive to shocks and surprises. So, like, for example, let's say I'm walking down a hallway and one of my friends jumps out and tries to surprise me, right? And let's say the normal level of surprise that I would have gotten would be a 6. If I have these markings, it'll probably shoot up to a 9 and I'll probably pee myself. Okay, so when you have these markings, sometimes you have high blood pressure, sometimes you have really low blood pressure. It's just a very dysregulated. You just go to extremes, right? And so you have to be careful if you have these lines. Spend more time meditating, spend more time clearing your stuff, and just becoming a little bit more mindful and present, and make sure you watch your diet and get enough exercise just to keep your cardiovascular system healthy. Okay? Is that useful? If you think it's useful, type it in the chat. Okay, so my Zoomers, I apologize because for some mysterious reason, like Zoom doesn't like to tell me you're actually responding. It'll just archive all your little responses on a little red tag in the lower right-hand corner, and it doesn't show me them unless I actually click on it. So I'm not sure what's going on with Zoom. And Miss T says a mouse starts out. Yeah, that'll do it. Alan says I'm taking notes here too. Cool. Lioness of Guy says, yes, mixed with O positive blood, I startle hard. Yep. Okay, good. We're on track. Okay. The next one I want to talk about, and interestingly, as common as this phenomena is, I don't see this marking as often as I expected to. And that marking is a diagonal line that starts at the outer canthus and moves towards the nose. This is pain. Now, this could be physical pain or it could be emotional pain. I see this more often in cases of chronic or acute physical pain than I do emotional pain. But if you see somebody who is in no obvious physical distress and you see these markings, once again, they have a lot of internal suffering that they're holding on to. And so you want to, again, as a therapist, if I'm using face reading as part of my clinical applications, and depending on what they're coming to see me for, I may want to unpack that. Now, on a more Machiavellian perspective, I know that if somebody has deep markings here, that they are easily leveraged through the trait of sadness by talking about how they'll miss out on things, how they'll lose out on things. They may not show it, but they will act on it. So again, for all the traits I'm showing you, there is the therapeutic side, the healer side, and then there's the influence tool side. Each of these emotional markings teach you about what has the most psychological leverage in a person's world. Kit James asks, is the suspicion line good or bad? Neither. Skepticism is usually a protective mechanism that has developed as a way to protect the person from getting taken advantage of. So in the long term, it's good. And as long as you can provide the skeptical person with the evidence they need to believe you, then you're okay. Where skepticism can kind of screw you up is if you have a viable solution to something and you present it to them in a way that they can't prove it, they may not be 100% in your camp until they have the experience of it working for them, right? Which is why I developed a lot of the technologies that I developed. You see, one of the problems that we have, and maybe you guys can speak to this, because you're part of that public. So many of us on the internet are inundated with messages from people who are just plain full of shit, right? They're selling you snake oil. They're selling you a lick and a promise, as we say on the more naughty side of the world, right? And they'll say, well, if you just believe it, it'll work. Well, what if that's the problem? What if you just can't bring yourself to believe it? Are you now stuck? Well, cars work whether you believe in them or not. Airplanes work whether you believe in them or not. So there has to be a level of reality that is largely not so dependent on our belief systems. Now, don't get me wrong, beliefs are important, beliefs are powerful, but some things are true and some things work whether you believe in them or not, right? And so one of the things that we do here at Planet David is we say belief is not necessary. Following the instructions is, right? We distill everything we do down to a mechanical process that anybody can do. And if they do it with the right mindset, which is not about belief, but absorption and focus, it's very different. If they do it, you'll get a result, right? Because I think we need something that we can test. We have to be able to test the things that we're taught to prove whether they have merit or not. And if someone's not willing to share something that's useful right off the bat, that would raise my skepticism lines, right? But if I can take something off a YouTube video, apply it to my life, and all of a sudden my life changes, or an aspect that's been bothering me gets a whole lot better, I'm gonna have a lot more faith in that person because I had a direct experience. And so these are things, everything I'm teaching you is not about belief. It's about just doing the shit and getting it done and calibrating if it works for you. So is skepticism good or bad? No. Ultimately it's good, but sometimes it keeps us from actively engaging in a process that may help us simply because we're not willing to believe it'll work, right? So I think in the long run, it's a good thing. I'm skeptical of pretty much everyone in my industry. I know that's not going to make me popular with some of my peers, but I find that a healthy dose of skepticism, and skepticism, by the way, should be contrasted with being a believer. And I think Bill Bankston said this best. He was once, Bill Bankston is the guy who created the Bankston energy healing system. He has more confirmed cures of healing and curing rats of cancer than any other energy healing system on the planet in double-blind, laboratory-controlled trials. He once did a lecture for the Society of Skeptics. And he stood up in front of that entire room and he says, I love skeptics. It's believers I can't stand. Believers bother me. You guys are all believers. You bother me. And every person in the room who was there with a skeptic badge on said, what do you mean? This is the International Society, the Skeptics Society. He goes, no, you guys have already decided that what I'm about to teach you is bullshit. That makes you a believer. Skeptic is someone who hasn't made up his mind yet, right? And that to me was probably one of the most profound explanations of one word being hijacked for another purpose, right? What's with the indentations on your forehead? Don't know what that means, but anyway. All right, so moving on, getting back to this. So here we go. One of the cooler lines that you can have is called a transformation line. Transformation line starts at about the hairline, usually right around the eyebrow line, and then it starts to travel upward, kind of like a rising sun. These lines usually appear as a result of somebody who's gone through a long, dark night of the soul and has some sort of spiritual awakening, some transformation of their identity that leaves them they can't go back to the way they were. They have some insight, some personal enlightenment or satori, that epiphany that results in a transformation that is systemic in them. And so when that happens, you'll start to develop these these lines that tend to radiate up from around the third eye area. Okay. So these are called transformation lines. Now, the next few lines we're going to talk about come in threes. We're going to start with three, or actually we'll start with two. When you see a double wrinkle, some people were asking about guilt and shame. If you you can measure guilt and shame. I mean, this is not on the map, so I'll have to show this to you. Guilt and or shame often manifests as extra skin between the eyebrows. Okay, so if there's extra fleshiness between the eyebrows, this tends to be someone who has a little bit more repressed shame or guilt. Okay, if it's very thin, I mean, if it's like I'm really thin, which is surprising because I'm like the poster child for guilt and shame, but yeah. So if you can pinch that and there's a little extra flesh in there, there's probably some repressed guilt and shame that needs unpacking. When you see two lines like on the screen here, this is somebody who has a tendency towards impatience. They have a tendency towards annoyance and irritation. They don't like, you know, when they're at the stoplight, the light is turning red and they're already gunning the engine, waiting for it to turn green. Okay, these people will tend to be a little bit more, are you done yet? Are you done yet? Are we there yet? Because this is a liver area. So liver area tends to be the get it done energy in the body. When you see one line, let me just make this a big thick line for people. When you see a big thick line down the center, right? This is called a suspended needle or a suspended sword. Now, this is very important because, again, this area goes, if you look at our diagram over here, this area of the body corresponds to the liver area. The liver area is the get it done energy. It's the energy that's focused on achievement and getting things done yesterday. So when you see people, it's also the energy most closely associated with anger and resentment. So when you see people with a big old line between the eyebrows, what you're seeing is a blockage to their personal power that is a result of anger directed at a father figure. Okay, so let me extrapolate on this. Does everybody see the marking I'm talking about? Sometimes it's a really small one. You know, sometimes the marking is no bigger than this, right? Sometimes it's massive. Like I have one of my associates has a massive marking right down the center, just like this. We call his suspended bazooka, right? Now, why is this important? And why do we need to get rid of it? Remember what I said about the liver energy, the wood energy of the body being the get it done energy. It's the energy that allows you to make your way in the world, to express your power positively or negatively. When you develop a marking here, it's almost always the result of an expression of power that was punished. In other words, something happened, you expressed your anger or your energy, and the pushback from it was very, very negative. You got punished for it. Okay. I see this a lot in sons and fathers, whereas as a son gets older, he starts to feel his oats. He starts to come into his personal power. He starts kind of expanding his boundaries, starts trying to challenge dad a little bit. Right. And at some point, Sonny gets too big for his britches and boom, dad lowers the boom on him. Right. And sometimes they get thrown out of the house. Sometimes they get a car taken away. Whatever it is, that the younger person often, not always, sometimes it's the other way around. The younger person expresses their energy and they get punished for it. Lillian tells one story about a guy who was a college basketball player, last game of the season. And there was this one guy on the opposite team who just kept playing dirty ball, kept fouling him, checking him, knocking it down, and just laughing at him because he knew how to get around the refs. The refs wouldn't catch it. And like the last of the game, this guy checked him, he fouled him, he went down. And when he got up, he looked at the guy with that smirk on his face and he just blasted the guy right upside the jaw. I think he was on the jaw. Anyway, he hit the guy so hard, he put the guy in the hospital. He actually wound up getting suspended from the game. He wound up almost doing jail time, right? And I don't think he was even allowed to finish the season. He developed a massive line right here, okay? Because what happened was the unconscious part of him said, okay, that was not good. I can never, ever let that happen again. And the unconscious mind says, block. It makes an arbitrary, you guys know what a governor is? Like if you're in a car that has a governor, it'll go up to 60 miles an hour or 65 miles an hour. Then no matter how hard you press the gas, it won't go any faster. When somebody has a line here, whether it's small or big, when somebody has a line here, what they've literally done is they've put a governor on their personal power. And at some point in their life, that block, that marking will manifest as an inability to go forward. They'll reach a point in their life, they'll achieve, and then they'll just stop. They won't go any further. And they won't go any further. They'll find ways to keep themselves at that level or even go backwards until they find a way to resolve that anger. You got to unpack it. You've got to get someone like me or someone like my students trained in NLP, hypnosis, and face reading, and unpack that anger and resolve that anger. Because that's a huge amount of your ability to get on your golden path that's not being tapped into. Okay? So, and I've seen this in women too, right? And it's almost always an anger directed at whoever had the most masculine role in that person's life. Back in the old classical days, it was always a father figure, but now because there's a lot of different dynamics in relationships, it's really whoever had the most young or masculine energy. But this is a big one. I see this one a lot. People I love have this line, and for some reason they just don't seem to want to clear it up. Maybe they're afraid of their power. Maybe but I've talked to people and they know they have it, but they don't seem to want to get rid of it, right? It does go to permission, kid, absolutely, right? So when you see this line, this person has a whole lot more mojo waiting to come out than they're expressing, right? If you have it, you might want to get on the phone with us or get one of our packages so you can clear this stuff up yourself, because that's what Identity by Design is supposed to do. Can this lead to fear of success? Indirectly, yes. And it's because it's not a fear of the success. It's a fear of being punished for expressing the power. Because the last time it was expressed, the punishment was so severe that they just said, no, I'm not ever going to take this chance again. Okay. So I hope that answers your question. Tazina says, I have CPTSD. Well, we can work with that. We're survivors, David. Yes, absolutely. Right. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. Just a reminder, it's getting close to the end. We're going to start going into some of your other questions soon, but just for those of you who came in late, we do have a last minute opportunity for you guys to grab a hold of one of our few remaining packages. This is our webinar special that expires at 11:59 p.m. These fast action bonuses down here expire when I log off the webinar. It's our face reading for fun and profit home study course. Now, if you have any of the markings that I've talked about and you need to get rid of them, you need to get this course because it will show you how to find them, what they mean, and what to do to get rid of them. That's why I put this course together the way that I did, because once you know what the markings mean, what they imply, you can use your Identity by Design techniques to help get rid of them. And you can use vibrational healing to build on that process. Okay, so the Identity by Design Hypnotherapy Home Study course is a $1,497 value. We're going to give that to you absolutely free. We're going to give you vibrational healing, the remote influence and energy healing systems made easy home study course. It's a $1,497 value. We're going to give it to you free. We're going to teach you how to read the rest of the body through People Reading for Fun and Profits, the $997 course. We're going to give it to you free. We're going to give you the Lie to Me If You Dare, How to Catch a Liar crash course, valued at $97. Absolutely free. For those of you who are among the first 25 people to register before I log off the webinar tonight, You're going to get the NLP Power Mastermind Practice Group 3-month trial membership and the 10-year archive. $594 value, absolutely free, right? You're going to get the pre-release version of our Face Reading for Fun and Profit Level 2 training with the extra bonus material, $1,497 value. You cannot get this on the website at all. And you're going to receive a free VIP bonus ticket to our next live face reading event or our virtual face reading event. You're also going to get a bonus copy of that training. So whatever training you attend, you're going to get a free video copy of the training you attend, in addition to all the other videos that are listed in this package. It's a total value of $3,447 just for that one bonus. Total value is $11,123. You can get it all today for just one low investment or one low installment of $997, or if you need to, you can break it up into 3 easy installments of $399. It should be $399, not $397. All you got to do to get it is go to www.nlppower.com/face, www.nlppower.com/face. Once again, www.nlppower.com/face. Scott is asking, if I made the first payment, $397, what all content do I get and how do I access it? Reach out to Stephanie directly. She will answer all of those questions for you. That's why she is my administrative goddess. Okay. So that being said, let's talk about some other stuff. The last set of lines I want to talk about on the face in terms of emotions are very similar. They're very, very similar to this line. But these lines emerge from the side of the nose and they travel diagonally down the edge of the nose. My teacher, Lillian, calls these disempowerment lines. And I really kind of have a problem with that word, because I don't think it actually, hold on a second, I got to change my screen. So once again, the lines I'm talking about are right here. They start at the inner canthus a lot of times, and they travel diagonally down the side of the nose. Okay, hold on a second. My daughter's coming up here. Okay. And my teacher, Lillian Bridges, calls these disempowerment lines. And if you get her book, Face Reading in Chinese Medicine, you'll see this as a disempowerment line. But I don't call them disempowerment lines, because I don't think that the word disempowerment accurately describes the behavior. So I call these particular lines appeasement lines. And let me explain that. Just like suspended needle and suspended sword, this person, their boundaries were infringed upon. They expressed their power. They said no in some way. And what happened was, this person, when they expressed their anger and they pushed back, the retaliation for them trying to maintain their boundary was so severe that rather than just lock down their power, this person decided to lapse into appeasement. In other words, they tried to placate the person's anger. They tried to make things better, to make things right. Okay, the person with suspended needle, they just repress shit. Okay, they may even get passive aggressive. This person wants to make things all better. This person will not express their anger. They will not, if someone, like, again, and I don't mean this in a disparaging way. How many of you guys, I'm sorry, my nose is itching like crazy. How many of you guys remember an old television show called All in the Family? Just type it in if you remember the show. If you don't, you can probably find copies of it. Okay. If you do remember it, you're as old as I am, right? Yes, Edith, right? Well, Edith is exactly who I'm talking about. The character of Edith, played by actress Maureen Stapleton, was the poster child for appeasement. Stockholm syndrome, right? For lack of a better word. Anytime Archie was pissed off, anytime Archie was mad at something, Edith would do whatever she could do to make it all better, right? You will see this behavior in a large majority of abusive relationships. When there's a lot of domestic abuse going on, you will see somebody manifesting appeasement lines. Okay? Not always, but many times. I've had people come into my clinic. It looks like somebody took an X-Acto knife and just scratched and dremeled those lines right into their nose. These are people that have very weak boundaries, that if they feel like they've given offense in any way, they will bend over backwards to make things right. Okay? Anybody here who's worried about sociopaths and narcissists see a flag here? Do you think people with this kind of marking might be more easy prey to those kinds of people? Right? So if we have these, we need to fix that shit. We need to fix it. We need to fix it fast. Okay? And again, I'm not trying to scare anyone, but again, you got to remember that social predators, which is what we're going to talk about a little bit before we end the webinar, because I promised you I would. Social predators are amazingly good hunters. What that means is they have a type. They know what to look for in terms of speech, behavior, body language. Okay? And if you don't understand the flags you're sending out, you have no clue who's reading you and who's targeting you. Okay? So face reading in terms of profiling ourselves gives us the ability to pinpoint things we didn't even know was a problem. Yep. Bill Chen says, I noticed somebody in her early 20s doesn't have any lines, but when she laughs, I notice the appeasement lines. Yes. Yes. Many times these particular lines only manifest during the emotion, but if they've had a lot of it, if their emotional life is full of these experiences, they'll mark even when they're not expressing the emotion or feeling the emotion. And here's what I mean by that. How many of you have heard of something called micro expressions? Yes or no? Type in it. If you've heard of micro expressions, just type it in the chat. Okay. Here's how I look at face reading versus Ekman's work on micro expressions. Micro expressions, for those of you who don't know what micro expressions are, whenever a human being attempts to repress or control an emotion, the emotion starts to leak, they take conscious control over it, and so they'll get these tiny little micro expression movements. Paul Ekman discovered these and correlated them as a way of, they manifest when people are repressing an emotion. When you look at face reading and the markings in the face, what you are seeing are the consequences of a lifetime of micro expressions. The more times you go through, you flex those muscles, the more you're going to mark it. Okay, so they're very much different but complementary ways of unmasking the face and exploring how people process. Armada Interceptor says, how do I search for enemy lines? I don't know what an enemy line is. You have to explain that to me, Armada. Okay, so has this been useful so far? Yes or yes? Cool, excellent. All right. So type in the chat what you guys want to talk about next. It's now your webinar. You tell me what you want. Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate you. Aaron Cross has made a donation, and I truly appreciate his donation and his gratitude. Thank you. I'm grateful for your gratitude. I'm glad you're enjoying the show. Okay. Can I get an amen? Yes, you can. Amen, brothers and sisters. Right? I got to tell you, long before I came across face reading many, many years ago, I was interested in it, but I had other priorities at the time, and I'm glad I followed those. But I was meant to do this. Face reading was meant to be part of the message I bring to the world to empower people. And short of NLP and handwriting analysis, it has been one of the most powerful human understanding tools and influence tools I've come across. I have never found it to be wrong. I've had people lie to me and then prove me right later, right? Okay. In order to fix dissociation from emotions, you have to unpack the emotional trauma, Bill. And that is outside the purview of this class. But if you want to know how to do that, the Face Reading for Fun and Profit package and the Personality Transformation program that I talked about will give you all those tools. But I highly recommend after you learn them, you teach them to somebody, and when they're competent enough, have them run you through it, or call us and we'll run you through it. Three-sided white eyes also sends red flags. Yes, I have a whole module in Face Reading 1 on three-sided eyes. Let me see what we got here. All right, so you guys want to talk a little bit about some no-nos? Yes? No? Ashlyn's saying, I have the fear dots, most noticeable when I get zip-lipped. How do we unpack these traumas? Is it a point? Yes. Everything in our therapeutic applications, Ashlyn, is going to start with point to where you feel it and unpack it. Okay. Miss T said someone analyzed my friend's handwriting and said she was not getting none. That can show up in handwriting, Miss T. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's talk a little bit about the bad guys, shall we? Okay. So when we start to look at predators, for those of you interested in private sessions, I don't really discuss my private sessions in the webinar, but if you reach out to Stephanie at 858-282-4663, she can answer those questions for you. Hold on a second, let me just scroll down here. I want to make sure everybody's getting taken care of. Okay, so let's talk about predators. So here's the thing. There's again, when we talk about face reading, one of the things that we have to understand is that face reading takes us from the three-dimensional nuts and bolts level of reality all the way up to the spiritual woo-woo, white light, new age, foo-foo stuff that sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. The nice thing about face reading is that everything works. So what we're going to talk about, once again, goes back to, in classical face reading, what we consider to be the Shen level of face reading. And so for that, I'm going to have to sort through some pictures, and I will share those with you. But one of the things when we start looking at scanning for, and I got to use this word, potential sociopaths, narcissists, dark triads, possessed people, we're going to be looking at the eyes. Almost invariably, most of what we're looking at is the eyes. I'm going to show you, again, I have to sort through the pictures, so I apologize in advance, but you guys wanted to know about this stuff, and I want to keep my promise to you. So one of the things we look at with people, and Shen deals, and by the way, when we're talking about Shen, what we're talking about is psycho-emotional health. Personality is part of it, but it's also schizophrenia, all types of mental disorders, luck and charisma. These are all things that go into the Shen or spiritual level. And the Shen level is anything to do with the mind, if that makes sense. If there was one word that we could distill the Shen aspect, S-H-E-N, to, it would be the mind. Okay. It's a little oversimplification, but it's good enough for now. So are you guys with me so far? Stacy Smith is asking, if someone has pain lines from long-term physical pain, can those lines be cleared as well? 100% yes. I have not found a single line on the face that is created by emotion or Jing deficiency that can't be transformed if enough Jing is generated or released, or the trauma is resolved. I firmly believe that. My clinical experience has shown me that. Some things take longer than others. Sometimes you get these one session wonders and boom, they have a completely different face in an hour. You know, sometimes it's 3 to 5 sessions, right? Slowly unpacking the onion layers behind something. But the short answer is, yeah, you can do it, right? Okay, so Nathan's asking, how do I carry on conversations while reading facial expressions? Focus on 1 or 2 things at a time and just allow your unconscious mind to draw your attention to subtle shifts in that 1 or 2 things until it's just automatic for you. When it comes to the old classical approach to face reading, classical face reading is very intuitive. If you're coming from the classical school like Lillian teaches, then the first thing that's going to happen is you're going to get rapport with your subject. And you're going to, whatever feature draws your attention first, that's what you're going to talk about. Okay. That's classical, intuitive, vibrationally based face reading, vibrational psychotherapy. In the system I'm teaching, we take a systematic approach. We start at the hairline and we zigzag down the face based on eye tracking patterns. And we teach you how to unpack a feature. We teach you everything about that feature so that you know in a split second as you cross that feature what it means, and then you move on to the next feature. So you literally start at the hairline and you zigzag down. And you can literally, using that process systematically, you can create a personality profile in someone in as little as 90 seconds. And we actually do that on day 3. We actually put up random pictures that are submitted by students, and I pick other people to read their faces. And they just go down, they just go from headline to chin, and they say what they see. And then we check with the person who submitted the photograph. And I don't think we've had one student yet that hit below 80%. Most of the students hit above 90%, 95% with our readings. 90 seconds, 3 days of class, not bad, right? And then you just get better. So that's the difference between the classical approach and the systematic approach that we're doing here. You don't, for what we're doing, you don't need to understand Chinese medicine. You don't need to understand what Qi is. You need to understand what Jing is or what Shen is. You just need to follow the process. But since we're verging into where classical face reading talks about entities and evil people and sociopaths and things of that nature, now we have to get a little bit on the wooish side, but and still keep it practical. So Shen is bigger than your body. We know that when people are happy, the body is healthy, they're doing the things that are on their golden path. There's a glow that emanates from under their skin. There's a vitality and a radiance that streams from the eyes, right? When people start to undergo pain, their Shen doesn't want to come into the body as much as normal. And so the eyes get flatter. And they get a flatter and flatter affect. There's less and less light that emanates from the eyes until they become completely what we call Shened out, which is dissociated. They become dissociated from their body. And you can see this in people who've suffered severe traumas. The lights are on, but nobody's home, right? They've Shened out. They've dissociated, okay? So those are your 2 polarities. Now, what you're going to see once you have a baseline with somebody, when they lie, you will see the Shen dim. They will actually, the light behind their eyes will actually darken a little bit. Okay. So that's one of the things we look at. When we're talking to somebody and they begin to feel something that's uncomfortable, or they start to lie to you, the Shen will diminish from the body. You guys follow me so far? Hold on a second here. Okay. Cool. All right. So let me see if I can find, you know what, I'll just pull up the manual that I use or the modules that I learned from, and I'll see if I can show you some cool Shen type pictures. All right. So what I'm about to show you is a PDF that I used. I received in my Shen class. I cannot share this with you, but as I show it to you, tell me what you see. When you look at their eyes, what do you see? Type in the chat what you see. The whites darken, yes. Okay. Now, these are all people that have been diagnosed with depression. Exactly. You see how flat? See how flat the affect is here? This is actually a manic moment. You see how bright that energy is? Can you see on Carrie? Let me annotate this. Do you see how bright those eyes are? I want you to notice something. I'll see if I can zoom in on this a little bit closer. Can you see how much one eye bulges out over the other? Type in the chat if you can see it. This is important. Okay. What you're seeing from Chinese metaphysics now is what is commonly referred to, let me see if I can type a text here, as gu. Gu literally means ghost. This is a double Shen. In other words, there's more than one spirit in this body. And that's one of the reasons why the Shen is so bright and why one eye bulges more than the other. It's like there's an extra something looking out. Okay. Oh, absolutely a fake attempt to smile. But again, I'm not talking about the smile. I'm looking at the eyes specifically. Okay. Can you see how one bulges more? It's because there's an extra spirit in there. Okay. And this is a lot of times why people act like completely different people. We tend to classify it as bipolar, split personality, borderline. The question I have in the chat is, when I got my new lenses, my eyes were really dull, but now, not at all. Do the lenses remove crumb? I can't speak to that, Jackson. I really don't know. Right. So we're going to be, and as we look at some of these other examples, I want you to notice how often there's somebody extra in there. Right. Now here, this is mostly just three-sided whites. This is extreme adrenal fatigue, but this girl was prone to a lot of adventures. Okay. Here we see Renee Russo. And as beautiful as she is, look at them eyes. One second. Why won't you let me draw? All we want to look at is the eyes right now. What can you tell me about that Shen? Sad. What else? Her right eye's bigger. Okay. There's no Shen there, is there? But like I said, the lights are on, but nobody's home. This is vacant Shen. Okay. Now this person, I don't know who this is, honestly. And I don't know why Lillian put this in. Because her shin looks pretty good. I think if she has anything going on, it's probably not manifesting here. But what about Catherine Zeta-Jones? What can you tell me about her shin? Is there anybody home there? Blank in the eyes? Yeah, right. Now, if we were doing a personality assessment, we could say right here that Catherine's a bit on the guarded side. She doesn't let a lot of people in. She thinks about she thinks a lot about what she's going to say before she says it, right? What about good old Jean-Claude here? Going back to, not much home there, is he? Right? So can you see the difference here? Now let's look at some healthy shins, right? Oh, these are not so healthy either. See here? What can you tell me about this face? Was this Kevorkian or is this somebody else? Right? Is there any Shen in there? Yeah. Okay. So you can see the extra bulge in the eye. Right? There is a reason why human beings are biased towards physical appearance, guys. It's just that we don't consciously know all the things that go into it. So again, these are also, let me erase this. See the asymmetry? Hold on a second. I'm seeing things in the chat, but I can't read them. Fake face? I don't know what that means. All right, let me see here. How about these? What do you think of these? Oh my God. My internet's giving me all kinds of craziness. Well, that's more of an, David McKay is asking, is there a reason for the deep set eyes? John is saying dull shen, and he's right. He's absolutely right. The deep set eyes are more of an elemental energetic. But when I look at these eyes, especially in Russell's, again, I see eyes that simultaneously kind of stick out in a beady sort of way, but the affect is very, very flat. So this to me is, again, someone who has got some mental stuff going on. Hers are bright. Yeah, they are. And again, I don't know what Lillian saw in this one, except that this person might have had a history of depression or whatever, and she just used her as an example. How about this guy? Remember him? What do you notice about him? Oh, somebody saw it. He's got some company in there, doesn't he? Right? It's not just different. Notice how it bulges. Okay, Lillian referred to that as double shen. Okay. This is usually an indication of somebody who's got some internal stuff going on. Now, whether you think of this as multiple personalities, dissociative identity, schizophrenia, I don't really care what you call it. The bottom line is it behaviorally, it's like there's an extra person in there possessing them. Aram says he has like 5 spirits. Yeah, maybe, right? And by the way, I see this in a lot of sexual offenders. A lot of hashtaggers, I'm seeing this double shen. Okay. Now we're talking about sociopaths now, right? We're going into the criminal level, right? What's the first thing that jumps out at you about Bernie here? The Madoffster. What do you notice? He's got no eyes. Look how closed, look how squinting closed those eyes are. He's not letting anyone in. You understand? Anytime you see eyes that should be big but are held super closed like that, you have got somebody who's got a big ball of secretiveness in there. He is evaluating everything you say. He is rehearsing his words and running them backwards and forwards to make sure that you get exactly what he wants to send. Okay? This is a great example of someone who is watching you, listening to you, and evaluating your behaviors. He's running dialogues and contingencies in his head so that what he says is exactly what you need to hear. Okay? How about this one? What can you tell about her? What's her Shen look like? Lady Dracula. Right. I'm not looking at the cheeks. All I'm looking at right now is I'm looking at the Shen. Very flat. Notice the pupils are really, really big. Okay. So I don't know when or how this picture was taken. Okay. And again, I can't speak too much to this one. Killing your husband tonight. How about this one? What do you see? What do you see in this gentleman here? Two spirits, right? See how the eye bulges? Right? He's got some company in there, doesn't he? Now keep in mind, okay, just because somebody has a bulgy eye doesn't make them possessed by an evil spirit or a ghost. You have to evaluate based on the kinds of behaviors they engage in. How about Mr. Kevin Trudeau here? A lot of people have mixed feelings about Mr. Trudeau, right? What do you see? Pain? Yeah. He's got some sadness there, but he's been hit with more lawsuits than anybody I know, except for maybe Trump, right? Again, I don't get a lot from Trudeau's picture. Ironically, I bought one of his courses many, many years ago. It was one of the best investments I ever made. Taught me some really cool shit. Other stuff he got into, I never really bought into all that much, but I guess it was a little on the dodgy side. What does the wide bridge of the nose mean between the eyes? He's probably got a pretty strong spine. He's good at business, and we know he is. Usually people with very large, very, very strong noses have very strong personalities. They're comfortable with power and exercising that power. Okay. This one kind of jumps out at you, though. What do you notice about this one? Spiritually close. What can you tell me about that Shen? How much Shen is in there? Kind of flat. I think it's kind of flat, but it's just my opinion. I notice a little bit of asymmetry in the eyes. That could be she's looking two different directions, right? Like one part of her is looking right at you. The other part is not looking at you, right? So to me, this would kind of trip off my ghost alarm, right? I would say that there's probably somebody else in there too. And again, I don't actually know who this person is. Shows you how up I am on current events. How about this one? Barbara says her eyes are looking out, but she's really looking inside. Yes. Okay. I could go with that. 3 whites. Absolutely. That could just be the camera angle though. But yeah, he's got 3-sided whites. Some people were asking about this before. This is always a danger sign. It's called sanpaku in the Japanese, and in the Chinese, I think the name is very similar. The only thing more dangerous than this is when you got inverted 3-sided whites. In other words, the top of the eye and the 2 sides are showing, or all 4 are showing. And we talk about that, and it's actually the last thing we teach you in face reading level 1. Did we freeze? No, Miss T, we're still here. What do you see here? This is someone who is really shenned out. They are not home. Somebody else is driving that bus. Now, you're going to start seeing people who have really bright eyes, but it's cold. And so let me talk about this for a minute. So what I've been showing you up to this point has been bright shen with warmth, right? Flat shen. Gu, bulging eye, extra spirit. If the pictures I need to show you are in here, what you're going to see now is you're going to see 2 other types of potential flags. The first one is going to be cold shen. Cold shen is very bright, but there's no warmth to it. There's no warmth to it, okay? I see this one a lot in sociopaths. Yeah, mostly sociopathic people. I see the cold shen. Narcissists can have warm shen. Because remember, everybody's narcissistic to a degree. Narcissism is one of the few things that we bitch about that everybody has. And we lump everybody in the NPD category, but it's really not. It's a spectrum, right? And so every single one of us, anybody who's on social media has narcissistic tendencies, because that's what you're doing. You want attention, you want to share, you want to connect. When it goes to the extreme, where you start looking at people as extensions of your own ego and tools to use and throw away, that's when you start getting into the NPD side of things, where it's personality disorder. But one of the things that happens is the shen is almost always warm. When you start getting into deeply sociopathic people, the shen can be very bright, but it's very cold. There's a coldness to it. It's the only way I can describe it. And I think this guy here kind of epitomizes. Let me show this picture really quick. And then I'm also going to show you what we call anti-shen, or shen eaters, as I like to call them. So this guy here, I would classify as having cold shen. Let me, and by the way, you're the first guys, you're the first class I've ever taught this to. So you see how bright this is, but it's cold, right? There's not a lot of warmth there. It's almost like a skull looking out at you, right? And again, you don't have to agree with me. Here we go. Here's cold shen in spades. But feel how cold. See how bright the eyes are? I think he's also got some sanpaku here as well. Exactly. But notice how cold it is. Right? His energy is very bright, which makes him attractive, but it's cold. Ray is, someone's asking me, is Dr. Snyder, can meditation flush out bad spirits? No. And I say that in a qualified way because most meditators simply don't have the connection to source to just meditate something out. You need guidance on those things. There's outliers for everything. But you see how cold this, do you guys feel it or not feel it? Just tell me what you feel. They don't have any feeling at all in them, right? Now, the next one I want to show you is what I call anti-Shen or a Shen eater. And yes, you're looking right here now at Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. Look at those eyes and tell me what you feel. Tell me what you feel. Do you feel how it draws you in? Yeah, it's like a black hole, isn't it? Right? This was the first picture of Richard Ramirez I ever saw, and it haunted me for days. And I figured out why. This is anti-Shen. This is someone who's not emanating light. He's sucking it in. And this has an attractiveness to it all its own. Okay? Right? So again, this is again. But are you seeing some patterns now starting to emerge? Now, a lot of people, again, going back to these two examples, right? These two men were considered extremely, extremely attractive, right? This one, he had great social skills. He could mimic social skills very, very well. But he's very attractive, and he's like the bright, shiny object. It's the cold light. This guy was just going to suck you in hypnotically. See how they're both hypnotic? But one is pulling your energy in, the other one's beaming to you. That's kind of the experience I get when I look at this. John says they all have a lot of shame. Actually, none of these people have shame or guilt. These people are sociopaths. They actually take pride in what they do. Now, here you have David Berkowitz, the son of Sam. He may have a lot of shame and guilt, but not about killing people. Nolan Richards is asking, I can't read that. Hold on a second. I'd have to look at the indents you're talking about, Nathan. Does face reading photos work now that filters are so common? Well, these were taken off Google Images and compiled into a PDF, so I don't know what filters are in place. I just read what I see. What can you tell about old Lee Harvey here? John, yes, and that may indicate guilt and shame, but, and again, I might have been misinterpreting what you're saying. They probably do, but not about what they did. More likely about what was done to them and the way it was done. What can you tell about Lee Harvey? Which one is Jeffrey? I think this is Lee Harvey. Maybe, I don't actually know who a lot of these people are. So I just look at the faces. I don't care who they are. It actually helps me to not know who they are. I think that's Lee Harvey Oswald. Am I wrong? He does have a little bit of a bulging eye. Now, what's interesting about this picture, you know, my friend Chase, who's probably one of the best guys in the world on behavioral profiling, is he says that one of the things that you can tell people who are easy to brainwash is that when you look at the space on the lower eyelid, it's very smooth. People with these super smooth areas below the eyelids, according to him, are extremely easy to brainwash. And based on what we know about Lee Harvey's background, right, there may be something to that, right? What about this guy? What do we see? So real quick, just masculine line being thwarted. Yeah, he's got one of those lines, doesn't he? Can you tell he's a little on the skeptical side? He doesn't believe anything anybody says. Goo in the sword. Yeah, very good. Excellent. Okay. Let me see if I can find. Now these, I think these are positive Shen, these next ones. Let me just double check this. And for those of you, again, who maybe joined us late, hold on a second. Where's my, okay, here it is. Again, last call for this, by the way, because after I finish with these, we're probably going to call it a night. But for those of you who have been on the fence and kind of want to get in on the package that we're offering, if you want to take your knowledge of face reading further, we have a special face reading for fun and profits webinar package. It expires tonight at 11:59 p.m. And the face reading for fun and profits home study course includes for $14.97, it includes the full face reading level 1 certification program, as well as how to unpack and attack a lot of the markings we've talked about. It also includes the Identity by Design hypnotherapy home study course, valued at $14.97. It's going to include vibrational healing, remote influence, and energy healing secrets made easy, $1,497 value. We're going to give it to you absolutely free. Going to include the people reading for fun and profit body language secrets program, valued at $997. The Lie to Me If You Dare, How to Catch a Liar crash course, valued at $97. And for the first 25 people who register for this program before I log off the webinar, these are fast action bonuses only. You're going to get a 3-month free pass to the NLP Power Mastermind Practice Group Trial Program, along with the 10 years of archived video footage you can binge watch to the heart's content. It's a $594 value. You're also going to get your our pre-release version of our face reading level 2 home study course with all the extra footage that goes with it. It's a $1,497 value. We're going to give that to you absolutely free. And finally, you're going to get a free VIP ticket to our next face reading certification virtual program and a copy of the Zoom video for your program, so you get all your breakouts and all that cool stuff right along with it. It's a $3,447 value. Total value, if you could buy this whole program on the website, which you can, would come to $11,123. You can get every single thing I've mentioned and all the follow-up that goes with it for just a one low installment of $997, or you could break that down into 3 easy installments of $397. All you got to do to get yours is go to www.nlppower.com/face. That's www.nlppower.com/face. One last time with feeling, www.nlppower.com/face. If you have any questions, if you've bought courses from us in the past and they're duplicates here, we will swap them out for you. Just let Stephanie know what you have duplicates of, and you can plug in any program of equal or lesser value into this package, so you can customize that package to make sure you've got all new materials. If you need help with anything at all, we're here to help you. Okay. So again, if you have questions, give her a call at 858-282-4663. For you guys here on YouTube, here's my, let me plug in the 858, hold on a second. 858-282-4663. And, or you can reach out to Stephanie at nlppower.com. All right. And once again, for our Zoomers here, at nlppower.com. All right. So let's kind of circle back. I want to see if I can find Healthy Shen. And unfortunately, oh, well, you know what? Here's a couple more for the less than Healthy Shen portion. You recognize any of these people? What do you notice about Norma Jean here? You think somebody's home? Or more than somebody's home? Or do you think she's no Shen? No, absolutely not. She can smile, she can radiate, but look at there's no light there. There's no light, right? The eyes are looking in different directions, right? I see this quite often. Okay. Not a lot there either, huh? Ooh, how about that one? What do you notice? She's all used up. Yeah. How about Iron Man? What do you know about RDJ? Now, RDJ, yeah, very sexy, right? Now, here's the thing about RDJ. If you look, he has a slight bulge in one eye. But that was probably feeding the demon. The problem with RJ, that's right, his left eye bulges, is if you look at the temples. Now, this is you'll learn in face reading 1. Actually, I learned this in face reading 2. Temples are related to the wood element, and they teach us about, you ready? Desire for altered states. The deeper the temple, the darker the coloration, the more that desired for altered states leans towards substances. If there's a lot of lightness in the temples, it indicates a desire for altered states that lean towards so if you look at, and I use myself as an example, let me just stop sharing here. I've got like, here we go. Let's turn this off, stop share, there we go. So if you look at me head on, right? Can you see how indented my temples are? Yeah. You think I spend a lot of time in altered states? Right? Because that's what I do for a living, right? And you know, if you're going to lead somebody there, you got to go first, right? So if there's a lot of, if it's bright, if there's light, if it's reflective, there's a lot of lightness in this area, it indicates somebody who has a strong desire for altered states, leans towards towards the meditative, the metaphysical, the transformational. When you see somebody who has a darker, shadowy aspect to their temples,
you see someone who also has a desire for altered states, but now it leans more towards substance and substance abuse. Now, the problem is that there's not a big cheekbone here. Let me show you Robert's picture again. And this is what Lillian pointed out to me, was that this isn't as, you got three things going on. You got a strong desire for altered states. You've got somebody else driving the bus. And then when you look at the cheekbone, cheekbones represent your will, your strength of will, and your discipline. When you don't have much cheekbone, it's easy for this energy to just flow. And so you can't stop yourself. And so this was one of the problems that Lillian pointed out, why he maybe have had such a hard time with substances, was because there wasn't a lot of a barrier, bony, in terms of bony prominences, to kind of act as a dam for this, right? Okay. So has this been helpful? Cool. I'm going to just take a moment, see if I can find one or two more pictures that might be useful. And again, I'm not going to waste your time watching me look for pictures, but I thought it might be helpful if I could find okay. There's one particular picture. I'm not seeing it. Okay. Oh, there it is. Now, what can you tell me about this young man? Ashland looked a little closer. Yep, John got it. When did this guy start doing his stuff? Yeah, it's Cosby. Mm-hmm. He got away with it too, didn't he? Let me see what my YouTubers are saying. My indents are showing. Right. So this is a young Bill Cosby. I think I have an older picture of him floating around somewhere, but clearly the right eye bulges. Yeah. So again, he's got bright shen though, doesn't he? Cool. All right. Did you guys have fun? Did you learn some cool stuff? All right. Another couple of things you want to pay attention to is when we talk about active profiling, which we'll do in Killer Influence Defense Against the Dark Arts in October. We'll be talking not just about passive profiling, which is what we've been talking about here. We'll be talking about
active profiling, which is how to catch people when they're in the act of lying, right? How to determine if there's a high probability of lying and things of that nature. So we'll be making the transition from passive profiling to active profiling. Ideally, these are two separate disciplines that when you bring them together can give you a very, very deep understanding of someone in terms of who they are, when they're not around, the kind of life that they lead, and ultimately who they are in your presence and how to use that information. Okay. Okay. So I strongly implore you, if you like this material, if you found value in it, please grab one of those few remaining packages. See us at the Face Reading virtual camp, April 9th through the 11th, from the comfort of your own home. We will be doing virtual breakouts. We'll be doing 90-second profiles. We'll be doing all kinds of stuff. We'll talk more about Golden Path. We'll talk about active profiling. We'll put all these things together into a nice cohesive package so that when you look at someone, you know more about them than their best friends do. There will be a replay available, but the fast action bonuses, the ones I talked about, the mastermind level, the 3-month mastermind trial with the 10-year video archive, the VIP super ticket, plus the video of your training, and the pre-release Face Reading Level 2 home study course, those go away when I log off the webinar. So if you are even on, and remember, everything comes with a 90-day money-back guarantee. If you're not satisfied with the process, you're not satisfied with the materials, you have 90 days to make it work. If it doesn't work, pick up the phone, let us know. And if you're not happy, you're not satisfied, and we can't help you get through the sticking points, we'll give you a refund, and you can keep the courses, okay? But yeah, that's what we got. You had a good time, please tell your friends about it, share this stuff, and use it. You don't got to believe it, you just got to do it, okay? In the words of the immortal Carol Burnett, I'm so glad we had this time together just to have a laugh or sing a song. Seems we just got started, and before you know it, comes the time we have to say so long. Good night, everybody. We'll see you soon. God bless and take care.